Carroll Community School District School Board meeting to order. First item here, approval of the agenda.
I'll move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Annika?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes. Consent agenda. Any questions concerning minutes, bills? Resignations on the pink. Resignations on the pink. Here. On the last page of also of the handout.
Yeah, we've got 3 resignations. The first one is Rob Grunmeyer wishes to resign his contracted bus driving position. He worked for the school district for 2 years. Diane Renicky wishes to resign her accounts payable coordinator position. Resignation will be effective November 6th. And then Sarah Finneran wishes to resign her teacher associate position at CHS effective September 30th.
There's no withdrawals from the consent agenda that I could see. Is there a motion to approve?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Cindy?
Yes.
Jennifer? Dwayne?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Annika?
Yes.
Moving on to the public forum. We're meeting via Zoom with the public forum, so there's going to be a little bit of a organization here to call on the public. Before we actually do this, I wanted to set a few ground rules. First of all, I was going to ask those individuals, I have a list of individuals here, and if the individuals are planning to speak and have the same similar concerns, I was wondering if it would be acceptable to them that they actually choose a speaker to address the board. So if there's, I have 6 listed right here, actually 7 people listed right here. So I didn't know if it would be acceptable to the group to possibly split into like 2 groups of 3 and have 1 speaker for that group and 1 speaker for the other group, and then have 1 person speak by themselves. If that would be acceptable to the group, what we would do is add more time. Instead of 3 minutes, you would have an additional 2 minutes. Therefore, you would have a total of 5 minutes to speak for the individuals representing the groups. If that does not work for the groups, then we'll go ahead and call individuals, and the time limit will be 3 minutes for the individuals to speak. So I'm not sure if you can let us know that either by speaking or by
Yeah, maybe have Becky start or ask her.
yeah. Becky, does that work for you?
Actually, because we're not sitting together, it probably is the best way to go with what we originally planned, and each person speaks to 3 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. I do have a list of individuals, so do you know who wants to speak in order?
Actually, I had asked Dr. Berla if I could go first just to introduce the team here tonight. And then I don't think that there is a set order after that. We could probably go by building level, if that's okay.
Okay, that sounds good to me. So we'll call on you first. And before you speak, I would also like to say something else as far as the ground rules go. During this public forum, the public is allowed to present and be heard, and the board's responsibility is to listen. We are not to comment or give opinion, but to listen only. So when you're ready to speak, Becky and others, what I'd like you to do is to identify yourself by your name and give any public disclosures you would like to. And then I'm going to set a timer, and each person will have a 3-minute limit. Okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're ready.
All right. Good evening. I am Becky Bass, and I am the instructional coach at Carroll High School. Tonight, I am speaking to you as the voice and representation of the staff at Carroll Community Schools. I am serving in this capacity to both introduce those who wish to speak and to address the board with the concerns of those employees who are afraid to speak out due to the possibility of professional or personal repercussions. In addition to that, each building has asked at least one person to be the spokesperson, as there is simply not enough time for each person to speak in this forum. However, by now the board should have been provided with a list of supporting signatures from each building. On October 4th, the White House Coronavirus Task Force stated, community transmission has remained high across the state for the past month, with many preventable deaths. In addition, they stated that the high rate of transmission left the state in a vulnerable position with the approach of winter, when such viruses tend to spread more easily. Iowa remains in the red zone for COVID-19 cases with the highest case rate in the country. And yet, since those statements, our numbers have steadily increased, and our district has publicly refused to revisit the issue of a mask mandate. Just 1 week ago today, Dr. Uveling, St. Anthony's Chief Medical Officer, was quoted at the City Council meeting saying that the distance of 6 feet is not a force field and 15 minutes is not a Cinderella phenomenon. This is about percentages of likelihood. The closer you are to somebody, the longer you are close to them, and the less protection, the greater the chance of transmission. He also added that they have had to expand the infectious disease unit 2 times in just the past 6 weeks. It is now up to 12 beds. Our current positivity rate in Carroll County as of this morning was 19%. It is time to protect every person in the district, staff, and students. Please know we are not here for a power struggle. We are not here to be political. We are here tonight out of concern for our safety and our health, and for the safety and health of our loved ones. In addition, we as educators know how many students who are immunocompromised or who have family members who are, and have also various other health concerns. Each day we are putting them at risk and their families at risk unnecessarily. They don't have a voice, and they definitely have rights to their privacy. But in this statement, we want you to know that we, the staff at Carroll Community Schools, see you and hear you. We will do everything in our power to give you a safe place to go to school. Our request for a mask mandate is not complicated. It is, however, in alignment with all safety precautions and advice from health professionals. I have to believe we are asking for no more than the safety precautions provided to you by your employers, or even what Pastor Cindy does to protect her congregation. Therefore, our request for a mask mandate does seem to be a reasonable request.
Thank you. Sorry. All right. So we'll go on with the, thank you, Becky. The next person will be from the building, most likely from elementary, or do you want to start from high school down? Elementary down?
I'll be glad to start.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm Lynn Dvorak, and I'm a first grade special ed teacher at Fairview Elementary. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you tonight. The issue about wearing masks is a very controversial issue that we will never all agree on. And each of us has our own personal reasons why we believe masks should or should not be mandated. In this situation, I believe it is the duty of the board to make a decision based on what is best for the Carroll Community School System. It should not be based on your own personal feelings or how many parents you've heard from for or against it. In my opinion, there is one reason and one reason alone that this school board should mandate them, and that decision should be based on data. We are a business just like any other business in the Carroll community. Our work is critical, and we can't do our work if people are missing. Our kids have missed 2.5 months of school this past year. We need every child in school every day. The data from this fall already proves that. Last March, when school closed, 90% of our kindergartners were proficient. This fall, only 56% of the first graders are proficient. Last fall at this time, 83% of our first graders were proficient. Again, compared to 56% this fall. So those are some really big changes. And I'm only sharing first grade data because I'm on the first grade team. I think that you will find similar data in the other grade levels as well. With the flu season upon us, we are bound to have higher rates of absenteeism. We have a return to learn plan that will provide some short-term solutions to high rates of absenteeism. And I urge the board to follow those plans when necessary. But this board owes it to every constituent in this community to do everything they can to make sure every child and staff member is in school every day. And that can be addressed first and foremost by mandating masks so we can have good attendance, which will result in better learning. And hopefully, if we can make it through the cold and flu season, by next spring, we will not have to have a mandate. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Who would like to go next?
I can go next. Jessie Strong from the middle school.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking safety precautions in regard to this board meeting. Even though it's uncomfortable to speak via Zoom, I appreciate it. And I'm speaking tonight to ask you to reconsider the safety precautions that we take in our school buildings. At the last board meeting, there were some suggestions made to help avoid students being quarantined in large numbers, specifically at the middle school. The solutions that were proposed would be costly, would be logistically complicated, would still cut time with certified teachers to 50%, and would be difficult to execute as the weather changes to winter. Teachers, including myself, spent many summer hours trying to think of creative solutions, as did thousands of educators across the state. There are not solutions to avoiding close contact when you're in person at full capacity. However, the governor recently has given us a tool, universal mask wearing, to avoid school-related quarantine. This is an essentially free and straightforward solution for schools. Right now, we strongly recommend masks. As someone in school each day, I wanted to let you know what strongly recommends looks like in practice. In my 7th grade classroom, about a third of kids wear a mask each day, and it's less than 10% for 8th grade. There are many parents who send their kids each day with a mask, expecting them to wear it. Many of them are doing this specifically to avoid quarantine. Unfortunately, those students are surrounded by students who are not choosing to wear a mask. When you only have 2 to 8 kids in each section wearing a mask, you will still have large numbers of students quarantined. We've seen at the middle school that 2 to 3 positive cases at one grade level has the possibility of taking out over 50% of the class. In mid-September, there were 65 students in one grade absent due to illness or quarantine. This is not what parents want, and it is certainly not what teachers want. During the school day, students are not 6 feet apart. School is by nature something that requires close contact. If a student needs help on an assignment that requires us to work closely next to them, many teachers feel we can't tell them to put on a mask. We have students working closely with other students without masks on. Teachers can't segregate students in classrooms based on whether or not they're wearing a mask. Is it fair for a student who diligently wears a mask to have to quarantine because someone sitting next to them doesn't? If we continue to strongly recommend, we're going to continue to have issues with quarantine students. And I think we all agree that we want our kids in school every day, not out for 2 weeks at a time. The medical professionals in our community have already spoken on this. And if you support the science, we have a chance to not only protect the high-risk students and staff members, but also the family members that they go home to each and every day. But even if you disagree with that statement, the reality is the governor has given us a very powerful tool to keep kids in school. We've already done the work to make masks and shields available to students. Let's use the inexpensive and straightforward solution to our quarantine problems. I hope that you'll revisit this decision. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Okay, I can go next. Jody Honlos, I teach 6th grade. And I just want to build on what Jessie said and tell a personal story. In 6th grade, we have an aide named Lori Custer. And she not only gave me permission to share her story, but she encouraged me to share her story. She got COVID, presumably from a student that she worked closely with. So I know our numbers are low, but I don't think even one person should have to get sick from doing their job. You know, she's trying to help kids. We all are. And hers required her to work closely with another student who wasn't wearing a mask. She's still suffering symptoms from it, you know, weeks later. We potentially, if one student is COVID positive, has or becomes, you know, between 4 and 30 kids have to quarantine if, you know, somebody's not wearing a mask. And again, that's not fair to the kids who are wearing masks. In the past, when kids had to quarantine, they were called to the nurse's office. Some kids started crying. Some kids started screaming, what am I going to do? What am I supposed to do? You know, and our nurses are great and helped ease that anxiety, but these kids are fearful. They feared the phone ringing for who's going to be called out next. You know, oh no, the phone's ringing again. Somebody's going to be called out. We're dropping like flies sometimes. So, you know, their families all have to suffer, you know, during quarantine. So it potentially affects a lot of families and a lot of people. And like Jesse said, with the new rules, you know, it's kind of like the rules of the game have changed. So I think we need to revisit this, you know, to do what's best for kids. Kids want to be in school. We need them in school. And everyone needs to be safe from getting sick. You know, we don't want to come home and get our family members sick. You know, we all seem to have some family member who's high risk. Some of us are currently being shunned by those family members, you know, and that's really hard emotionally to do. So I really, really think we need to revisit the mask situation to avoid a lot of these issues. Also, looking on a positive note, if everyone was wearing a mask, I believe we would be safe to change our seating charts, or if a student had an issue sitting in a certain spot during a particular class, we could move them to a different spot temporarily. So what's best for the kids and what's best for learning? You know, it's not best to keep kids in the same seating chart for months at a time. And also maybe we'd be able to work in teams. You know, there's a lot of research that supports teamwork and partner work. And it's kind of hard to do that. Right now, my desks are 3 to 4 feet apart. And some of them kind of have to holler at the other person. But or even if we kept, you know, 3 feet apart and we're able to move to work in different teams throughout the day, that really helps learning and makes learning more effective for kids. So for those reasons, I ask that you consider a mask mandate. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I will go next. I'm Lindsay Pick. I am a 5th grade teacher. I am speaking with you tonight to show my support for requiring a mask at CCSD. On September 4th, 2020, I lost my grandpa from COVID. He was the 5th COVID death in Carroll County. I realize that this topic hits closer to home, for me than many others. But I don't want what happened to my family to happen to anyone at our school. Now, I realize I'm jumping to the worst case scenario, but I feel that we need to be doing everything in our power to protect our students and staff in our district, but also the primary and secondary caregivers and their families as well. I feel it is our duty to protect our students and ourselves. If masks are not required, how can I say that I am providing a safe learning environment for my students? I am lucky to say that in my classroom, all of my students are willing to put on a mask, but only 4 out of my 23 students wear a mask every day. Please reconsider requiring masks at CCSD to protect our students and staff. We all see and hear the statistics on the news. Things are ramping up in our area. So I am proposing that we be part of the solution and not part of the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
I can go next. My name's Kim Klein. I'm a teacher at Carroll High School, and I just wanted to address it more from the personal side. When I speak to students who have to be quarantined for 2 weeks, whether they had it or they were simply quarantined, they are struggling. They are struggling with being gone. They are struggling with doing the work, no matter how much a teacher connects with them and we can Zoom with them, we can do anything. Being gone for 2 weeks is a very long time. They're struggling with completing work, understanding work. They're struggling with catching back up. In fact, typically kids are gone for 2 weeks, and by the time they come back, they're missing so much work that it takes another week on top of everything else that they're getting that week to get caught up. I had a student come back today for the first time after 2 weeks, and their eyes were the size of saucers because they're realizing, oh my gosh, I have to do all of this. If we had masks, we don't have to quarantine if we end up going and having more students in our classes. We have teachers, aides, students in our school who have health problems and have addressed that. We have teachers fearful of going into other classrooms to observe because that would add to their exposure possibility. We have teachers who are afraid to work with students who don't have masks on because that adds to their exposure, and they have health risks themselves as well as their family. We had a student who had a parent who had major health risks, and this student had to go around every day and see people not wearing masks and was actually upset by that because he wore a mask for that parent. So these are not just, again, I agree with what everyone said. It's not the political do's and don'ts. There are so many things that we need to consider. And as always, what teacher isn't? We worry about our kids. We worry about those students, and we want them in the classroom, and we want them to be as happy as they can be and to be as well-rounded as they can be. So we would like you to reconsider this, and I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I believe I'm the last one here. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Todd Lawaji, and I am a UNISERV director with the Iowa State Education Association, and I proudly represent the teachers and support staff of the Carroll schools. I'm submitting my marks this evening, not from an ISEA employee representative, but as a fellow board member. I was recently elected to the Algona Community School Board of Directors, and we too, and in many ways, I think Carroll and Algona are very similar. Both communities have public and parochial school systems. Both communities and school systems are similar in size, and I would consider both communities somewhat conservative. In August, as a lot of other boards, we approved a return to learn plan in which masks were strongly recommended but not required. But then on September 29th, Governor Reynolds and the Iowa Department of Public Health released new guidance detailing new protocols on quarantining COVID-exposed students and staff. We revisited our stance on mask mandates. We had a very lengthy discussion, but in the end, we put our personal opinions aside and decided to do what was educationally the best decision. And we implemented a mask mandate effective October 1st. Since that time, the number of students out of school due to being considered exposed has decreased 85%. Our new mask mandate is doing what we had hoped it would, keeping students in school. We didn't let our opinion of mask effectiveness get in the way of what we felt was in the best interest of the students. Now, in the words of Dr. Berlau from the superintendent's report from the September 21st board meeting minutes, the district's desire is that all students be in school. He later stated, at this point of the year, the district has had approximately 350 students who have been on quarantine at some point. Although the data is not perfect, it appears that 3 of the students later tested positive. So that equates to 347 students that were gone from school. You know, they were perfectly healthy, but they were gone from school. The quarantine period is 14 calendar days, which usually leads to 10 school days of missed school. This means that there were 3,470 days of school were missed by students not carrying the virus. Based on a 180-day school year, at this rate, the Carroll School District is on track to have 3,500 quarantines, or 35,000 days in which students are not in school. I did some other comparisons to the schools of the Raccoon River Athletic Conference. The 5 schools that require masks, ADM Adel, Ballard, Boone, Carlisle, and North Polk have had, in over a 3-day period, October 13th, October 14th, and October 15th, had have an average of 15.3 students per day in quarantine. The 5 schools that do not currently have mask mandates, that average increases by over 5 students to 20.7 students per day out of school. I derived that data from the Iowa COVID-19 tracker and ISCA's data on mask mandates.
Thank you. You have exceeded your time, but
Oh,
I'll
I'm
give you
okay.
2 more seconds to go. So
What's that?
if you want to wrap it up real
Okay, I'll wrap it up real quick. Thank you. We knew our decision was not popular. In fact, at last Monday's board meeting, we had over 30 people there, concerned citizens, many in opposition. Nor is it one to be taken lightly. But we felt it was in the best interest of the students. The decision was all about keeping kids in school. We did not base our decision on the effectiveness of masks or our personal political beliefs. We have based our decision on the effectiveness of the educational system. So please consider doing what is right by the students. Please consider doing what is right by your staff by following your own board policy 413. It is a policy of this district to ensure, so far as possible, that every employee has a safe and healthful workplace in which to work. And mask mandates required, and I ask that you require or reconsider your decision for the requirement of masks for staff and students. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we've heard from everybody. Is there anybody else on the public forum that we have not heard from? They would like to speak? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward. Next item is donations.
Let's see, I think we have.
Association of Handicapped Citizens.
Yeah. They're in your addendum there. Or,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah.
On the third page.
The Association for Handicapped Citizens would like to donate $500 to the CSD Special Education Department. The Terry Smith Estate would like to donate 2 binding machines and office supplies to Fairview Elementary. And Walmart would like to donate $300 worth of school supplies to Fairview and Adams Elementaries.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes,
Annika?
Yes.
Cindy?
the school improvement report, moving on.
Yeah, so on the school improvement report, I linked a couple things there to for you to see. You know, it used to be under No Child Left Behind, and maybe even a little while after that, districts did an annual progress report. And also there was a CSIP document that you maybe were presented at board meetings. So it's a little bit different now. The comprehensive school improvement plan link is still the CSIP, but it's a report that we submit through the to the Department of Ed through the Ed portal, really. And so I won't read through the whole thing, but you know, there's where you'll see some information. There's a section on goal setting that's all related. Those goals are related to the FAST assessment that we give at the elementary for reading. And there's some long range goals there that you would probably, those of you that have been on the board for a while might look familiar to in the old days. We have our tag plans, ELL plan, our mentoring plan, that's all in this document, professional development plan. So all that information is there, career planning, and that's submitted to the department. Actually, it was due in September. Okay. And then you'll also see a link to assurances, and that's another, that's just more something that we fill out, but I went ahead and linked that to just so you could kind of see some of the things that we have to agree to have in place. So I don't know if you had any, if you were able to look at that and had any questions about anything in either of those two. But it's more of a, gives you an idea of some, the changes from, like I said, the old, there used to be a nice little, I've got some in my office, a little binder of a report. And I'm not saying that was a bad thing, you know, it may be something we need to look at doing, but again, but we haven't the last few years anyway. Oh, since it moved to this.
I just had a couple questions about some of the, I guess they're predetermined little blocks. And so we didn't actually determine any of the evaluation outcomes where it says a walkthrough to be observed. I wasn't quite sure exactly what that meant, you know.
Yeah.
So again, with your evaluations, it says administrative walkthrough, peer review, professional collaboration. So I'm thinking, what is a walkthrough? What is that?
That would just be like principals visiting the classroom,
Oh,
like walking through classrooms just to see what's going on
okay.
in the classroom. But yeah, you're right. Those things are there, and you check the box if they apply or not apply.
That you do that or don't do that.
Right.
One question I had on the next one, it talked about district lists online course offerings available to provide to the department, and it said no. So I thought we actually had concurrent enrollment on online learning. It was on the second page from online learning, and it says, please note that the district must have a list of online courses, and we put no there. I thought we had online courses.
Yeah, I can't remember that one, and I think when I looked deeper at the definition, it didn't apply, and I might have to look and see what the reason was.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was concurrent enrollment or if it was through the DMAC, that's why it wasn't listed, or it just.
Dr. Berlaw, this is Tammy. I can speak to that.
Okay, go ahead, Tammy.
When I was working with Mrs. Ruck on filling this report out, I emailed the Department of Education to get clarification on that question. And we were told to not put yes to that box. This would be more pertinent in districts that perhaps don't have a chemistry teacher or a physics teacher or a foreign language teacher, and they would use online curriculum in order to serve that purpose. Because I had the same question you had, Karen.
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive that we have these classes and then you put no. So
Yeah.
that makes sense now. So you're just basically saying it's a substitute. Since we do have teachers, we don't need to substitute with the online. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct.
Okay.
And it's for, yes, we use online curriculum for credit recovery. That is not what this is asking for.
Thanks, Tammy.
Mm-hmm.
Needs to go into that assurances.
Yeah.
That PK 11. About 12 pages. in
Yep.
there. It says never more than 20 children per classroom.
Correct.
At a certain grade level or
Preschool.
preschool? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, preschool, you can't have more than 20 kids in a classroom. Without, I think you have to add an adult or you've got to do something, but yeah, we're in good shape there. Any other questions?
Is this something that we need to approve with the motion or no? You just-
Nope.
Okay.
It's just informational.
Okay. Thanks. Okay. Moving on. Personnel report.
Yeah, we have two recommendations for hires. Jeff Cullen is recommending John Leonard for a contracted bus driving position. If approved, he would receive $18.87. That's the base wage plus 25 cents for 7 years of experience. Approved, he'd work 3.5 hours a day. And then Randy Beeson is recommending Terry Rabbit for a musical accompanist position. If approved, she would receive $20 an hour with a maximum hour for the year, hours for the year being 236 hours.
Is there a motion to for questions?
I move to approve the recommendations, two that are stated here.
Second.
Dwayne,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Monica,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Easy, there wasn't one missing, was there? 'Cause this goes from number 1 to number 3.
No,
Make sure there was none.
no, it's just the numbering on it there.
Okay.
Nope, we're good.
Okay, next is the administrative report. You have quite a list here.
The principles are written, so if you had any questions from that, they weren't planning to go through each of them go through their reports, but if you have questions.
I did. I don't know if Patrick was on or not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had sent him an email just to kind of comment on the test scores, but I had looked at those. Particularly, I think it was the second, third grade, had to go to proficiencies. Jump into his report. He gave me some nice comments back, and I just thought it'd be good if you could address the board with those as well. He's available.
Mr. Abbott, are you on there? I'm gonna go now.
Yeah,
or-
sure.
It's linked.
It's linked.
Well, no, I couldn't find my my microphone. It was on the wrong microphone setting. So now we're good to go. Hello, everyone. Hey, yes, you did pose a couple of good questions today in regards to some of the scores that we have. We certainly saw a COVID dip. I don't know if everyone is familiar with that, but across the nation, we are recognizing a dip in scores from last year's grade level to this beginning year grade level. So one of the things that I do want to make sure we're all aware of is don't get too excited about these dips. It's quite something, but it's also something that's not isolated to Carroll, Iowa. Our teachers are working extremely hard in order to identify where do the gaps lie for our students. And so as we took the fast test scores, we noticed the biggest dip there well, you can see it there on the quick glance, that most of our problems our difficulties for our students right now are those things that they would have learned at the end of last year, that those particular skill sets, whether it's reading sentences or onset sounds or sight words. So for instance, I think one of the ones Dwayne asked me about was first grade, and their difficulties lie in sight words and then sentence fluency. And when those two things really naturally flow together, if they don't have the sight words down, then they're not going to be able to read those sentences fluently. And so one of the great things our teachers are doing is identifying those students that need those skill sets and then giving them small group instruction we call Tiger Time. However, our Tiger Time is limited because we can't do cross classroom interventions where we can put Pat and Tammy together in the same group and then send Jerry over to the next class level in order to get his instruction. And that's just because of our restrictions with COVID-19. I guess the one thing you can take away from here is when you compare Carroll Elementary to Heartland AEA or to the Iowa Department of Education across all schools, you can see that we're actually ahead by 1% to 3% so 3% across the state of Iowa and then 1% across Heartland. I did not add that into my report initially because I didn't look at that until Dwayne asked me some questions. I would be happy to give you a more in-depth report, but I can tell you I'm pretty excited about Ryan Similink and what he's done in regards to the full report, that there's a link in your agenda, and also with the website that he's created for our teachers to utilize for tools. Dwayne, did that hit kind of what you and I talked about earlier today?
Yeah, it does. I just Thank you. I just wanted to, I guess, you be able to address that to the whole board as well, and just kind of, you did a nice job of explaining it to me. I know you guys are on it, and I appreciate that. So we'll try to keep working. I guess the only thing I replied back on that email, if there's anything the board can do to help you folks out, please let us know.
I sure will. Yeah, we're looking carefully at how we can get our foster grandparents back in the building to assist the distributed practice for some of our kids. It really just comes down to reading out loud, reading out loud, reading out loud, that repetition to see the words, process the words in their brains, and then get them out of their mouth for fluency, that fluency practice. So that's, and if there's any parents listening on here tonight, that's one way you can help is read with your kids.
Mr. Rabbit, I know you're new to CCSD, but did you compare like the dips from previous years from them being gone over the summer? Is there still a big difference from them being gone since March compared to a normal retention rate?
Yeah, this retention rate dip is much greater. And I think it also aligns with the lack of instruction that happened during that time, Karen. The kids didn't get to finish those skills that they were building on. As we know, in education, we scaffold our instruction so that we can build one skill set upon another skill set. And that's just the unfortunate impact of COVID-19 is that it's really got kind of cut off. If I use the analogy of climbing a ladder, we can all imagine that, I hope. But if there's a rung that's missing, it's a little harder to get to that next rung without a little bit of assistance or a little bit of help. So that's what our teachers are all really working hard towards, trying to identify what pieces are missing, and then how can we help them get those skills back.
Thank you.
You bet. Did that answer your question, Karen?
Oh, there's Jen. It was Jen. But
Yes.
Yes, it did.
Sorry.
it's okay.
Sorry, Jen.
No problem.
Sorry.
You want me to go?
I had a question for Mr. Raymond.
Okay. Mr. Raymond. He's on there, yep.
Mm-hmm.
This is Anika. I had a question on your the steps taken to decrease number of possible quarantining.
Sure.
I appreciate that and that you broke it down. My concern is that it only lists one of the 3 ways we know to decrease the number of possible quarantining. It talks about the social and physical distancing, but I didn't see any information about proper hand hygiene or the mask wearing. So I just wanted to ask if you had any information on that.
On the proper care of the mask?
No, on wearing face coverings and the proper hand hygiene, because those 2, in addition to the social and physical distancing, are the 3 ways that have been shown and what's recommended to decrease the spread of the infection and also to help decrease the number of possible quarantining.
Oh, sure. That I didn't include that simply because it wasn't something that was something we didn't start necessarily at the beginning of the year. We have at the beginning of the year, our teachers went through proper hand washing and doing those things, cleaning the desk, cleaning the chairs at the very beginning of the year, and they continue to do that once students leave the classroom. When they go to lunch, they're let out early enough to where they can hand wash, and when they come back to the classrooms, there's always the other cleansing items that they can use before they come into the classroom. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Have we gone over with the kids how to wear a mask properly? Because I see a lot of diaper masks or underneath your nose. Have we ever gone over with the kids how they should be wearing them and caring for them? And have we ever gone over, I know they're middle school, so they should know by now, I would hope, but have we gone over how you wash your hands, that you don't just run them underwater and they're clean?
Yeah, I don't know what the other schools, high school and elementary, but for the middle school, that was part of our PBIS program from the beginning of the year, where we talked about how to wear the mask correctly, and Ann McCartan shared that information with to us, as far as to me and teachers, and so we shared it with teachers to go over with our students, and as well as hand washing and those kind of things. I'm not sure what the elementary or high school did on that.
And next board meeting, we'll have the NWA results from middle school and high school, is that correct?
Yeah, we can do that. Due to the quarantining, we were finishing up some of our students for the NWEA, as well as the FAST testing. We also included, for our online students, we gave them the opportunity to take the NWEA on either October 12th afternoon or Thursday, October 15th afternoon. So we just got those students done last week.
Thank you, Jared.
Yep.
Okay, Tammy, does she want to speak for high school? Hi, Tammy.
Hi, I can answer any questions anyone might have over the report that I shared.
Jen's got one.
I have a question, Tammy, it's Jen.
Okay.
For Edgenuity, I think I know the answer, but I wanted to clarify that I was thinking correctly. For the Edgenuity CTE courses, can any student take those courses if they will choose to?
Yes, they can, though the Edgenuity's enhanced CTE courses that we purchased licenses for, we purchased 15 licenses, whereas our other Edgenuity license is a district-wide. That said, those were courses that were missing for not only our ROAR students, but our remote all students. We wanted to make sure that they were well-equipped to return into normal learning. And in order to be able to do that, they needed some of those CTE courses. But yes, the answer to your question is yes.
And did the iPads arrive?
The iPads arrived. The technology department got those engraved and numbered on Friday, and we started passing them out this afternoon. We plan on using professional development time on the 28th and November 2nd to showcase those and to also instruct on the applications that will be put on those iPads. We're super excited and very thankful to the board for getting those for us. It will definitely help streamline recording of instruction, uploading of instruction, and delivering of instruction, as well as other applications that teachers will use those for. So thank you for that.
Hey, Tammy, question for you also. When did you switch to the alternating days on the hybrid model? And how was it before that? Is it like a week at a time or 3?
You mean the calendar that I have, the November calendar that I have on the,
yes.
Okay. We have not yet. That would be something that I would propose for the remainder of the time that we're on hybrid. And I will tell you why. Our calendar, our district calendar was not constructed with a hybrid in mind. And so our return to learn plan proposed the schedule that we're working with right now, which is dedicated days for an A group and a B group. For example, the A group always attends on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the B group always attends on Wednesdays and Fridays. Well, this week, or pardon me, last week was very problematic with that because of parent-teacher conferences. And so although 2 of the days that A attended were shortened days, They had 3 days of the week that they were in attendance, whereas the B group had 1 day, and B group this week has 3 and A has 2 days. By moving toward an alternating everyday schedule, we believe that will create consistency for students, for teachers, and for parents. And that's the proposal for the month of November and any other month that we would be operating with the hybrid learning model. That's a good question. Although, you know, you're still getting the same amount of days, it's just when those days occur.
We also had a student of your from the high school sent the board an email talking about the hybrid model, and it was very positive.
We are learning as we go through this about the skills that students, teachers, all of us are learning as far as the approach to learning, and there are definitely a lot of positives coming out of hybrid, especially in light of the fact, I mean, we need to be realistic about this and think about the fact that we've only been doing this for about a month and a half. And as I've talked to my teachers and learned the approaches that they're taking, it's quite remarkable. The skill sets that have been developed already in a short amount of time. And we're pretty excited about PD days coming up so that we can reflect on those, visit about those, and improve even to a greater degree. In light of the fact that we really don't know what post-secondary education is going to look like from here on out, we really do believe that the skills that we are giving our students by breaking up their learning in ways that more match how they will be delivered, whether it be a trade school, a community college, or a 4-year program, or even a certification program. We believe that we're helping to give them some of those skills that will help them be more successful in those types of settings. So I'm glad you shared that you got an email from students. I've gotten a lot from parents as well, and students. You always want to know how your people are feeling, so.
One question, Tammy, this is Karen.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I just had a question about this hybrid. Is this already been discussed in that meeting where you're going to go back and talk about revisiting hybrid in end of October? Was this introduced, or have you had that meeting, or is this going to be presented?
We have not had that conversation at all. I simply, with the board, wanted to show you that I have been collecting data on student attendance, student engagement, listening to the kids, listening to teachers, listening to parents, and overwhelmingly, the common theme was consistency, as best as we could provide it in a hybrid model. Now, this is only there to show you that whenever that decision is made, this would be what I would propose as far as a calendar would be concerned.
That's what I was asking. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Deadline when they're going to make that decision? Or do you know?
Well, we didn't, the first month we said that by the 25th of the month. So, we'll, yeah, that last week.
I have a question for Tammy. Hi, Tammy, this is Cindy.
Hi, Cindy.
In your assessment, are you finding that some kids are just dropping out? I mean, there's always kids that, for whatever reason, just aren't quite doing the work when they're unsupervised. Do you have a remedy in place, or is that just something I'm dreaming up, that you have students like that?
That's a really good question. And interestingly enough, the hybrid offers a lot of flexibility in order to serve those students that aren't quite ready to be independent learners. For example, partnering with parents, we have allowed for the flexibility for a student to start coming every day They can come to certain classes every day. They can come for a certain amount of time until they feel like they have a good footing and then revert back to the hybrid schedule. We have also had some of our online all students come in for certain amounts of time a day, either here to the high school for support or down to Roar for support. And that's been the beauty of the hybrid. It's when you think about introducing brand new ways of learning to students without much planning and preparation, it can be challenging for students. We've had both ends of the spectrum, students that are just taking online learning and running with it and doing very well, some that struggle more with it than others, and some that are having trouble engaging. So we have been working very diligently to make sure that our students understand the importance of engagement, and especially in light of the fact that we're not planning on being here forever. We want to get everybody back into school. So that's a good question.
Okay, thank you, Tammy. That kind of reassures me. I was concerned about some kids, you know.
Any other questions?
I just have a few things that'll be real quick
Okay,
for me.
sure. Okay. I'm sorry, I skipped over your
That's a,
it's like routine, isn't it? Sorry, Casey.
they have a lot better information than me anyway, so.
Oh.
Anyway, just a few things real quick. We're tomorrow, as you know from my email update, we did meet with the city about some of the situations that have gone on at the Fairview Apartments. And so we're meeting, another meeting is going to take place tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock at the public library. Mr. Rabbit and I for sure will be there, and we'll see. And Cindy is as well, representing the faith-based community, I believe. Just so I'll give you an update after that meeting. Just a couple other things that we are working on. We're going to look into cameras at the Fairview Elementary, also on the south side with all the windows. You know, at the high school, we've got the window clings or whatever, so it's harder to see in. So we're looking at some of those kind of things, evaluating what we have in place and seeing what we want to do just to, or what we need to do just to increase the amount of safety that exists there at Fairview. I was late. We had it on the agenda and then didn't have it on there because we thought I didn't know if we would have good numbers and ready yet for you or not, but I think we're pretty confident our enrollment is up 6 kids, just under for our certified enrollment. Open enrollment in is up 5 and open enrollment out is up 3. Difference of 2 more out than in compared to last year. So I'll get you a more detailed enrollment report for next month, but just so you know that enrollment looks to be positive for this year. One of the things that you've asked me to work on and we're moving forward with is taking a deeper dive into the hiring process. We are working with Trent Grunmeyer. Right now, where we're at in that process is we've sent him any policies, documents, handbooks that we use for hiring. He's evaluating those. And then today he sent emails to principals and some other staff who hire, and they have some interview questions. They're gathering information from them and see how all that lines up. And then it kind of an audit, and then he's going to get a report back, and then we'll determine next steps from there after that audit. So that's moving forward. And then just an update. I don't know how often you check the numbers that we update on our website in terms of COVID. Today we have 2 positive cases among our student body. We do have 55 in quarantine. That number went up quite a bit in the last week. No positives among our staff, 4 staff in quarantine. And when I looked at 5, the positivity rate is just a hair under 19%. So, and you know that number, if you watch it, it goes up and down. So, and usually on Mondays too, there's not a lot of activity on Sundays. So Monday's usually a good day. Not always, but sometimes. So that's kind of, those are the things I had for my update.
Casey, are the 55 quarantine, since we only have 2 positive, is it mostly from being exposed from family members or out in the community? Because I didn't see an uptick. I know that we had 1 exposure here that we had 7 quarantined for, but the rest of them, is it from exposure being with families that since we don't have any positives coming?
Yeah.
I know last week we had 0 positives and we still had kids quarantined.
Sure. A lot of that. Yes, there's a lot that are exposed at home. We're seeing more parents test positive. And the other thing I would say is the quarantines have been extended too, because we're now in situations where we have the highest number at Fairview. So younger kids, it's harder for parents to isolate if they test positive. So then their quarantine actually ends up being, their 14 days starts after the 10th day of isolation of the parent. So you're looking at 24 days potentially. So, but we have what you referred to at Fairview, and then we did have a staff member who's now back already. That's why there's 0 staff that exposed some students. So, you know, we started the year, most of our activity at the high school, then middle school, and now the majority is our youngest kids.
Now to help me clarify, there are no students in Fairview with COVID. They have been exposed to COVID, or are they students that have COVID?
Well, and this is the tricky part, is we're supposed to be careful, you know, about identifying kids. But we have 2 positive cases in our school district, okay, student-wise. Okay. And so we're not seeing a lot of our students test positive right now, but they are getting exposed at home. And so that's kind of my summary of it. And so to the point I just made about identifying kids, I'm still putting, the DE recommends that anything under 5, you say like less than 5. I have still been putting the number because it's district wide, and I don't know that you'd have a really hard time, I think, identifying what building even we're talking about. So
I appreciate you putting up. I know I watched it a couple times a day. It's good information for us.
Yeah. So we are watching that really close, and you know, when I think back to the start of the year, you know, things kind of happen, and you know, the ball started rolling down the hill a little bit, and so we do keep a close eye, and we're monitoring those things close. We have spreadsheets where we're tracking kids who come in and report they're not feeling well and the symptoms are COVID-like. So, you know, it's interesting to watch that spreadsheet and then the positive spreadsheet. So, I mean, we have all that information that our nurses, who are doing an outstanding job, are gathering that information. So,
on a different note, I just wanted to note that for enrollment, Carroll County is steadily losing 0.25% annually in population. Carroll City is losing 3.36%, and yet we're seeing an increase, which is kind of helpful to know that we're not growing. We're an Iowa community. We're not growing.
Mm-hmm.
We're not a city Iowa community.
Yeah.
Nice community that is not really growing, but it's good to see these numbers.
That's a good point.
Casey, does public health do a flu shot clinic at the school?
yeah, they have, and I think I saw them. The nurses would know about this more specifically, but I did see that public health put something out on Facebook about conferences. Yeah.
I know they did it at Kemper that first week of October, And then, yeah, I saw on their page something about maybe
Yeah.
not being able to do it, so I didn't know if they were able to do some buildings.
I don't know. Let me follow up on that and I'll let the board know where we're at on flu shot clinics. That's all I have.
I don't want to rush you, Casey.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Transportation Department report.
All right.
Yeah.
Or Jeff.
Jeff. Mine will be quick too, probably.
Okay.
Well, currently I'm at 20 drivers after tonight. Sounds like maybe 21. So that's a good note. Currently we're running 21 routes a day, 2 special needs routes a day. I don't know if you remember right or not, but that's down 3 routes from last year. I had to merge a couple routes, and with the shortage of drivers and so forth, I dropped a route in Dedham, one in Willie, and one in the city of Carroll. Part of that's why we went to the 2-mile pickup, and who has the pickups on that, but I think it's smoothing out a little bit and it's getting more accepted now. So as far as our capacity on our buses, I have probably 3 buses that is near or at capacity. Now we're trying to stay 2 to a seat. So with the seat behind the driver empty, but there's a couple of buses that are probably they are at capacity. So if there's any way, I've got my eye on another driver right now, and if I can get another driver, I may try to add another route, try to ease those areas up. But for the most part, the rest of the buses are running pretty good. We're not packed in there or anything like that, so we're doing all right. I do have one of the drivers that's one at a time, so he is spraying the buses every day. I said I have one person doing it. He's doing it the same way on every bus. I know it's done right. There's no question on it. And it's going real good. He's roughly spraying 60 buses a day. So you get your morning route, your noon route, your afternoon route, and the activities. So that's going pretty good. We're using the electrostatic sprayer, and I don't know, without that, it would take forever. It just makes it so quick and easy. It's just great. So, and along with that, every bus has drivers all got wipes. If they want to wipe, if they want to do their own wipe and stuff like that, they can do that too. So I haven't heard any complaints on the buses, so I'm hoping that's working well. Not seeing any side effects on the bus, like some districts were using chlorine and they were bleaching the seats, bleaching kids' clothes. So we haven't done that. So we did make one right choice anyway. So just to give you an idea of what we run a day, like I said, I run 21 regular routes and 2 special needs routes a day. Our regular route miles per day are 1,485 miles. That works out to about 7,429 miles a week we're running for the buses, regular routes. Preschool miles is separate. That's the buses just at noon now. We're running 222 miles a day on them. That's 7 that run at noon. So, and so far this year, I've ran 43 activity trips for a total of 12,453 miles. Seems like October really picked up. We had 6 in July, 2 or 3 in August, 12 in September. October, I jumped up to 22. So football season really good. There's volleyball, football, and swimming in there. So, other than that, this is National School Bus Safety Week, October 19th to the 23rd. The slogan this year is "Red lights mean stop." And I don't know if any of you follow on paper or anything like that. I had 4 school bus violations drove down here, but I just got another one tonight. So it's a serious thing on that. That is something that we just can't let go. We have to follow them through all the way. 3 of our buses, in fact, 5 of our buses now are equipped with outside cameras, and that sure helps when you go try to prosecute them. So where the driver carries a little bit of weight, and then sometimes I can get the video out the window from the inside to get the car too, but it's great to get that plate because buses that we have with the outside cameras have plate readers on them, and you can get a good shot of the plate. So,
So
other than that,
Jeff, those vehicles are being turned into law enforcement then?
yeah, I turn all the city ones in the city of Carroll, county ones, they go into the sheriff's office. State patrol's always told me if you want to send them our way, we can. I just don't see them guys as often. So, and there's a time limit on it. You have 72 hours from time of violation until it needs to be turned in. So if I get one on a Friday night, I kind of got to move on that before, the weekend takes or something. So they got a week to act on it once they get them. So the fifth one, I got to write it up tomorrow. Out of the 4 we set in this year, I've had three cited. I don't follow through and see if they're convicted or anything like that. I learned one of those, a trooper, you write a ticket, you let them go, you don't worry about it. It's out of your hands. So we do what we do, and then that's it.
I think this is such a safety issue. So my question is why aren't all of our buses so set up? Because I see it happen, sometimes, and I'm just,
It does. The camera systems, like anything else, takes money. I know safety's you can't put a price on safety. I realize that, but what I've been doing ever since I've started in the last 2 years, what I've been trying to do is every time we get a bus, we'll put them on. And we'll do that as long as we can afford it, whatever, anything like that. The one I just had the other day, I had one 190th Street east of town. I seen this pickup, there's a vehicle behind me, and I seen it. I had one stop. I seen it back there. It was a young person, and they were kind of swerving, So I let them off. I went to the next stop. See them back there, and all of a sudden, the third stop, he decides he doesn't want to stop for me no more. So as soon as the lights comes on, I see him come in my mirror, and luckily, I had the kids to the right here, so he went around me on the left side. And the drivers try to do the best. The ones that don't have cameras, they try to get the plates, but there's a lot of things they're doing at the same time.
I don't expect them to do that. That's why I'm asking about camera and looking at Gary as I'm asking.
They make fun of me because they say, well, you used to do it. I know, well, they'll we try to get it all we can. So.
Jeff, I have a question real quickly. So you said 5 buses have cameras. How many would you have to retrofit if you were going to get the rest of the
I
buses?
have 21 route buses.
21.
So I'd have to put 16 more on.
16. Okay.
What do they run?
I can't tell you exactly what just the outside ones would run. I want to say the last buses I've increased the number on the inside too. Gary, you might help me on this.
Well, I think I can't really answer that question, but I think the good news is, and correct me if I'm wrong, the camera systems that we have on there allow for multiple cameras. And so when you put those in, you decide where you want the cameras. So if you put one on the outside, then you'll have one less on the inside, but it still allows for enough cameras that we could do it. It's money. But yeah, the nice thing is I think our camera systems would allow for that for probably all buses that we have.
The last ones I have 6 cameras in. The ones before that I had 5 in. So I've got an interesting number on every one. So
We have cameras on all the buses.
all our out buses have cameras. And actually, I through moving the buses around and so forth like that, I got 2 activity buses with cameras on too. And I want that because there's activity on the activity buses that I like to see. So
I think I would like it to be known that if you illegally pass the Carroll Community School bus carrying precious cargo, we're going to get you. I mean, really, what good is a law if you're not going to enforce it?
Can you put a dash camera?
you can.
That would okay. Someone as they went by and.
And actually, I got
Those
a
are pretty cheap
couple.
now,
I got a couple little like GoPros that we put in buses before,
Jeff, what's the bus with the fewest number of cameras? How many?
2.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think when we first jumped into this whole camera thing, that was a big deal because for years, nobody wanted cameras.
Right.
But I thought we started with 2 cameras. So that gives you an idea of where we're
Right.
progressing.
Yeah, so. and
I'm
that's-
up to 6 now, so I
Yeah.
just, and you still miss things, so you know,
Right.
it's do what you gotta do.
Somebody stole my flag off my front door the other day. And I'm like, who steals the American flag? Somebody did, and I'm thinking of this best in the room, which is, you know, it's like.
So let's, if you guys need any more information on that, let me know.
Thank you for.
I'd be glad to look it up.
You said that it's National Bus Safety Week.
Yes,
Is there
19.
anything that we do for that, or? it's-
We got some posters, I just got them today from the state inspector, I'll probably put one on each building, I mean, we could potentially do a radio ad or something like that, I'm not much of a radio speaker, somebody wants to do that.
Right, no, that would be helpful, and also I'd be interested to know how much they talk about it in driver's ed. Because I mean, I know you said one was a younger driver, but I could see quite a few of the offenders being newer drivers.
It's all ages, but, I mean, we could do probably late now to get a, like a paper ad or something like that.
Press release type thing, or
Yeah.
I also made a note too on our social media. We could put something together to put out.
And maybe we can remember that also at the beginning of the school year.
Right.
You know, to kind of remind people, hey, there's gonna be more buses.
Well, even like the adults, I'm not gonna age myself here, but it's been a long time since I was in driver's ed, but just remind people when you can and you can't, when it's divided, when there's actual median in the middle. I usually just stop regardless because I can't remember. Stop
It's just
using it.
safer that way.
Yeah, but, just to refresh people of what they're supposed to be doing. The bus drivers do an awesome job, like when I'm driving and they're coming up the hill, when they're driving at the, where I live, and they go at an angle so that no one can pass them,
Right.
and they let the kids out, and then the kids cross the street, they do a really good job.
You have a pretty good crew. One more thing I gotta bring up, I'm gonna be doing the evacuation drills with buses, but I'm trying to modify that right now due to the situation we're in. We can't pack kids in buses like we have in the past, so I'll probably be showing some videos, get with the principals and set something up different than in the past. Other than that, you need something else, I'm at the bus bar all the time.
Or on the bus.
Or on the bus, yep. Seems like you're late.
Decided driving.
Yeah.
Don't drive me away.
Get my share. I didn't have to today. I will tomorrow. I'm short tomorrow. I'm trying to beg somebody else to drive tomorrow.
Any comments on the transportation assistant?
Yeah, we want, that's the next one.
Yeah, that's the next
The
one.
next thing on our agenda.
I'll talk to Casey and I've talked about this a couple of times. I appreciate anything you can do. It's this time of year, I need somebody to be able to, if I'm not in the office, there's nobody there to answer questions. And if they call me and if I got, I don't answer my phone, I don't text on the bus. So obviously they're not gonna get me if they've got somebody they can't figure out where they need to go. They need somebody that's accessible, whether it's me or someone in the office or somebody, here, bus bar, I don't care. Somebody that can do that. I would love to eventually get to the point where they drive too, because I'd make them drive and also, but right now.
You want that in the job description, is that what you're saying?
When we ever get to that point, I wouldn't mind seeing that in the job.
Is the job description, I think that was in there, wasn't it?
We talked about it.
I don't think we added it just because
We needed him in while he was driving.
Yeah.
Right.
the big thing that the reason why that's on there today for just a clarification is I believe that the discussion was and the intention was that we were hiring a administrative assistant. And so we just wanted to make sure that that was right because there was some discussion about, okay, is it an assistant to the transportation director or an administrative assistant? So, yeah. But I think back to that point, I guess my thought is if we can get somebody hired, then, and we can kind of get our feet under us with that, then maybe we move forward with trying to, have them get their bus license in it so we can have some more flexibility that way.
Cross training.
And it's certainly a question we can ask in an interview.
Would they be willing to?
Yeah.
Cross train.
Yeah.
Do you think that the program we're using is working for us, or do we need to, because it's been many years since we bought that program?
I think if we had the time, I don't have the time to sit down and just stay on that thing like it need to be. If we could get somebody that's just stay on that thing day, I think maybe it would. Seems like we have some glitches once in a while with communicating with in the campus. I don't know if it's between them, that's something we've had to talk to Craig about, or if our system's not supporting it. But once in a while, I mean, we won't run the backup at night sometimes like it should. I don't know if that's TransFinder's problem or if it's our problem. That's a little deep. I will say TransFinder has, we're just using the tip of what that thing can do. It's a huge program that we're not using it to its capacity by the way. But I'm familiar with it, and I get going with it just not to be dangerous, so I can get kids routed on things like that. But we need somebody that's on that can sit there all day long and just make changes.
So is that the only thing that you need to change that, or clarification on that job description, Casey?
Yeah.
So is it posted already?
Yeah.
It has been posted.
Yeah. Yeah, we went ahead and posted it. So.
Yeah. Some help for you.
What are you waiting for?
I would love to. I'm trying to.
Yeah, we'll get going on it. I think we maybe have some applicants to look at. So.
I would like, like I said, I just like to have somebody that's at a computer all the time, whether it's me, them, whoever it is. It never fails. I'm in the bus going down the road. Somebody's calling me, and the stuff that deals with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Well, thanks, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff. We'll see you.
Enjoy the rest of the game.
They're leaving right now, hopefully.
So is there discussion then more about the transportation assistant, or is that basically done and we don't need to discuss?
I just want to make sure.
Okay.
I thought that we were
Okay.
talking about an administrative assistant,
I think we
not
changed
an
it.
assistant to.
Do we need to change the title?
Yeah,
Right.
I guess, yes, that would be the action to take, would be just approve
The change in the name.
administrative assistant to transportation director.
I'll move to change the job title to administrative assistant to the transportation director. Second.
Karen,
Yes.
Annika,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Dwayne.
Yes. With the whole, what Jeff brought up there with regards to cameras and that, I guess, Gary, this would be kind of a question for you, but I surely would think we could allocate some funds to go in that direction. But here's what I ask you to kind of maybe throw an amount out, even if, because we're just doing it as we're replacing buses, but if we really kind of get a bit of a gap to kind of stair step into that rather than just kind of wait for a bus and stuff. We're getting a couple buses every year, but
It would be interesting to see what it would cost to take an existing bus in there and say, what if we add an outdoor camera?
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is too, when we jumped into this, we would buy the bus and then we would have the camera system installed here in town. Now, if I think I'm right, Casey, on this. I think when we're buying buses, they're installing them at the factory.
They're in the specs that we choose what
Yes.
we want.
So it's probably a little cheaper to do it that way. I don't think they used to offer that.
Yeah.
But just to add one camera, I doubt it's terribly expensive. And like I say, at least we have the capacity to do that.
Well, particularly if we got a bus that's gonna be around for 2 or 3 years.
Right.
Versus if we got one that's gonna expire
Right.
within this year, I'd say maybe that's not, but if we got a bus, we're gonna be running for at least 2 or 3 year time frame. Why would we not look at kind of getting a little more access with cameras there for
Maybe you could get us some quotes for the next board meeting and then come up with a plan to see if it's.
kind of could work with
Basis
Jeff
that.
on that a little bit too, and just say, hey, because I just, as he's talking, I was like, we got some funds, I need to put that direction.
No, another thing that when Casey was talking about the cameras at Fairview, I was thinking, we've talked about that for years to put a camera towards the bus barn with all that. There's a lot of money in that bus barn. And safety wise, just one, maybe.
We had issues in that bus barn, not recently, but there's been years
Yeah.
of issues with some vandalism.
So when we get the camera,
Yeah.
people, maybe we could ask them for a quote to put a couple
Yep.
of cameras over in that area too.
And you could even have one to your east.
Has some zooming capability.
We have indoor cameras, but not in the outside.
Thanks, Wayne. That's a great idea.
I would hope through tomorrow's meeting, they would discuss some cameras across the way.
Though they have the owners agreed to install a camera system.
30 to 60 days, they have to.
Yeah.
do that.
So
Okay. Review policies, quite a few policies. And there's some that are brand new. New policies 106, 606.3, 813E1. These are in the yellow pages, basically. So we have quite a few. And of course, the first ones are so lovely. That's assistance animals. And then there's animals in the classroom, which is down the bottom. That's new. And then the assistance is new. And then
actually, that assistance animal is now in your packet. 2 different policies on therapy dogs and service service animals.
Right.
Those are both
the yellow pages. Yeah. So the first one, what is 106, is the therapy dogs on the premises.
Yeah, this is a policy that we don't have. Brett, our Nitschke, sent me this. I think I explained this in most of my meetings. I was just using an IASB policy that addressed therapy dogs and service animals in the same policy. He recommended having a separate policy for each, and so that's why you see 106 and 107. We do have some pretty serious interests in therapy dogs in our school districts. And so that's one of the main reasons why we're bringing this policy is we currently don't have anything that addresses that, and this would kind of be a step to get the ball rolling in that area.
But just dogs, so if somebody has a therapy cat that keeps them calm, that's not gonna come. I'm just wondering what can we're opening.
Yep, good question. This is specific to dogs.
Okay.
And I think in another dish, well, I think both, maybe both, for sure one of them, we adopted a policy, and I don't quote me on it, but I think there's just certain animals that schools are. In that policy, it was dogs or miniature horses, I think.
And that's the next one for the service one is miniature horses still.
So yeah, so we are saying for therapy purposes, we're saying dogs.
Okay, I just.
Yeah, no, it's a great question.
Yes.
Well, how about my child's therapy monkey or what have you? I can see this coming, so.
If you, and I'm sure that you noticed when you read through there, there's it's pretty clear on the requirements that are necessary. So you can't just decide I gotta
Yeah.
neat dog and I'm gonna have it be a therapy dog.
I had a few questions on this thing. There's a point that says parents must be informed of the presence of the therapy dog. Is there like a timeline or a form or anything for them to fill out? Because it said something about options for a child not to participate, for pet allergies or
You bet.
emotional discomfort. Do we have a form, or I was just wondering if there's more information?
Yeah, what we would probably do is look for a sample form that districts are using, and use that to meet our needs, make some changes to meet our needs. But yeah, that would absolutely, we would have to inform families, because you do have kids that have allergies and different things, so.
And then along those lines, then it talks about the handler or the owner of the dog must provide the crate, and then there's an area for the dog to stay. If there's people, do we have a designated area?
We will have to establish that. Yep, that'll be something that we'll have to establish.
I've also noticed that on the code 106 is missing the liability that code 107 speaks of. Who's liable for damage?
It says.
It does say,
Am I
yeah.
missing it?
Yeah, it's like.
Never mind.
It's
The third
assumed,
point.
Okay, I see it all, legal liability. That was pretty easy.
yeah, it's assumed by the owner of the therapy dog. The school wouldn't own it. It also says in there that it has to be a staff member, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So,
I'm just thinking that in 106 that all legal liability would be assumed by the owner is not quite as comprehensive as what is stated on 107.
well, I can check. I mean, it's the first reading. I can check with our attorney. This came from him.
I just see wiggle room in the first one and
Yeah.
not in the second
A
one.
little more explicit.
Yeah.
Yeah, your therapy dog is one that comes in, not gonna be in school all day. Usually that's a specific,
Therapy dog.
yeah, versus the service.
Yeah.
Service animal. That's not- that's
We
completely
are
different.
two different things, however,
Very different functionality. But the goal
Right.
is-
I agree with you on that, but I have found that lines are being blurred on those, and so I'm just thinking
Sure.
ahead.
Yep.
And remember, first reading of the policy, you probably know Mr. Rabbit is, he's purchased a dog that's actually being trained to be a therapy dog. And so I know he's willing to have the trainer come in and talk to the board if we want to do that. And so we're just kind of, I'll get the question answered on the liability, and we'll look into some of the different forms. Yeah, we'll designate. I'm not too concerned about the designated area. It's absolutely something that we will do. We'll follow the policy as it's written for sure.
I guess my final question on this, because I am all for therapy dogs and
Sure.
service dogs and everything. Currently, we have a no volunteers allowed in the building kind of thing. So would we be holding off on a therapy dog coming in anyway? I mean, because a volunteer or somebody's going to come in the building with it.
Well, right now,
But if it's just him, then it's
Well,
not an issue.
yeah. So again, it would only be a staff member or volunteer, and so
There's the catch, the volunteer.
yeah.
part.
Well, and we won't be like this forever.
I know.
And
I
so.
hope.
So yeah, good point. But so to start with, yeah, we may not be, we may be a little more limited, especially if it requires a volunteer, because we're not bringing in a lot of volunteers right now. So
But I think it's an exciting
yeah,
possibility that
yep.
Mr. Rabbit is.
And we actually have a guidance counselor in school too, that in our school district that I think has a dog too that's maybe being trained. And then we have a janitor, but his dog's never been in. I don't know, since I've been here, he's not brought his dog in, but
He used to bring it here all the time when he was here.
okay. So there's some potential.
And the therapy dogs, like my kids had a therapy dog in preschool, where the speech pathologist had one. And it doesn't roam free through the hallway. And
Yeah.
they're with the speech
Yeah.
pathologist the whole time, and it was so beneficial. But yeah.
Okay, so we kind of covered 617. Do you want to skip to
Yeah.
813, since that's another?
Yeah, 813 that's more of a 813.
Yeah, 813.
Okay, yeah, that's on our purchasing policy. We need to add E1, which is a fraud reporting policy. I don't know, Gary, Diane's one that came and talked to me about this, but I don't know if she talked to you about it at all or not.
I think this is as a result of applying for some FEMA money.
Yes.
So
That's sometimes it's, yeah.
So you have to have certain policies in place before you do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are the new policies.
Okay.
I would point out 402, you don't see any revisions on it. It'll just be shown as reviewed. So I told you guys, everybody in our pre-board meetings that Brett Nitschke had reviewed our 400 series. It was sent to him before I started, and we got it back last year sometime. And so we just haven't gone through that 400 series, and that's why we're taking chunks of it. And so this is the chunk that we took. And so 402, there's no changes. It'll just be reviewed. The other ones, there's some strike throughs, some bold language.
I had a question on 403.
403?
At the end, there's a strike through of a supervision or evaluation of immediate family member. Struck out because that's covered in a different policy. I apologize, I didn't get a chance to take a look into that. I was just wondering why specifically that word was struck out.
Well, I think that's a good question. I think maybe we do have let me check on it. We may have another policy.
And that's the same policy you were gonna check on the
Yep.
top two paragraphs too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'll check on that. So you have a better understanding there. What else did you see in there?
There was something. Oh, the 404. I noticed there was bullet points, and one of the things I was wondering if we should add in there, include bullying or discrimination based on political, because there seems to be a lot of that going on both sides, and I think that to put something in writing, I don't know.
Okay.
We had a lot of bullet points except for nothing. Yeah.
I can check.
Fred help us with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm making a note. I can sure ask you
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
This would be for employees.
Yes, for employees. Yeah. Yeah. I was on a meeting recently, a Zoom meeting, and setting the parameters of the meeting, and it was brought up, are we going to allow political discussion? I said, please no, please no. It just becomes a big, angry mob, and I'm thinking if we're going to have something that speaks specifically about political activity, it'd be nice to have something like that to address that. And then 405, oh, never mind. I got that one addressed. Never mind. Oh, 406 I had a question, Casey. They said that they tend to mark out the hours and put them back in later on, where it's marked out 24 hours and 48 hours for the oral reporting. And then later on, it comes back in, and I'm just wondering why we're striking out that, because when you look at the actual reporting of the actual form, it says in again that you have to have 48 hours, submit the form within 48 hours. So it just kind of goes back and forth. It's in there, it's not there, it's in there, it's not there. And,
Well, what I'm thinking is that he thinks that's, it should be part of the regulation rather than just the policy language, but I can double check
Yeah.
and see the reasoning
Well,
on
it
it.
talks about the mandatory report will orally or in writing notify, and it takes out that whole thing about making an oral report. And then it just says human departments of human services, and it takes out the time frame. And
Was it
then,
just the number that's
no,
crossed off?
I thought that too, but if you look, sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Yeah, so then you look at the form, and the form, it's back in again. So I was like, okay, is it just the hours, or is it, kind of, wasn't quite sure, because like you said, on one page, it has written out 48, and it just marked out the number 48. And then over here, it takes the whole thing out. On the first page, it takes that 48 hours, the whole thing. So I'm just kind of, it's there, and it's, see what I'm saying? It's not consistent.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe it's me being picky, but.
Well, I did that a couple times.
Did you?
Wondering, and then I'm like, okay, well, I guess I just taking out back some numbers.
Yeah.
And spelling out the number in.
Right, exactly. I
in
saw that.
letters, but-
I saw that too.
So, yeah, that should be consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll see, I'll get more information on that too before the second reading.
Because you're right. He did spell 48 hours out on the actual reporting form. It's spelled out.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I don't know if that's a big deal.
Animals in the classroom is the new policy too, and that's an IASB policy.
Are we adding that because of the? We just want cats on buses.
Yeah, I think it isn't necessarily,
Did you see they can't be transported by buses?
yeah.
All of a sudden, I'm thinking, what a great choice.
There was just a theme about animals, I guess. I don't know.
Alrighty. I think that was
Okay.
about all I had. We need to make a motion on the ones that you're getting looked at, or should we wait and have you look at them first, Casey? Or just for the
I
first
think,
reading?
well, it's the first reading, so.
Yeah.
Isn't this animals in the classroom kind of like the shape of this dress to show and tell? No, I'm serious.
No,
Yeah.
That's what it's for. Yeah. Yep, that's what it's for. Yeah.
Tarantula. Yeah. And then some of these are, so these are all basically first readings for all of those then.
Yep.
Okay, all right. And then purchasing policy is the next 1.3.
And the only thing there is just adding that E1 that we
Okay.
talked about early on. So.
Right. And those are both new too, so we can just move on then, huh?
I move to approve the first reading of the listed policies. Is that okay?
106 through 813E1.
Is that okay, Gary?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, wait a second.
Annika,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Dwayne,
Yes.
Karen.
Yes. Okay. We're moving on to letter D, the approval of the remote learning coordinator position. And that's on the turquoise page in your book. And I think, Jen, did you have any more questions? We talked about this a little bit with duties or responsibilities as far as basically.
Well, talking about was that Karen and I have discussions with a couple of administrators about the one problem that they saw or they thought was the hardest was when kids were gone for quarantine or hybrid and being able to have a point of contact with those parents, since teachers are teaching, be in contact with, they felt like that was a missing factor. And so at the time that we talked about this, we had probably the 300 in quarantine though, Casey. So
Yeah, a lot, probably.
I don't know if, I know we had discussed that next year, do we want to continue to offer an online, and this might be a position that could kind of tailor that and be in charge of that if we wanted to keep it. I don't know if it's something that we still need.
Yeah, and it's yeah, when you were at that time, middle school was probably our biggest thing. And let me say, those comments back to September when I said that 300, that wasn't at one time. That was, we had accumulated that many, but so yeah, I mean, I think there's some value there to it. I don't think there's any question to have somebody that's would be that point of contact, and that could be, you know, kind of the go between, so to speak, between the student family and family and the teacher, to try to maybe accelerate whatever is, you know, the need might be.
Do you think it would be a full-time position at this point even?
Well, I think, you know, initially when we were talking about FTEs, you know, I think we were talking about multiple, and I don't think that, you know, and again, some of this is just because we've never had a position like this, so there's some unknown involved. So I feel like there wouldn't be a need to have, I don't think we should jump in with multiple positions. I would suggest, if we're going to seriously look at it, that we would not do more than one FTE. And I say one FTE because that could look like 2 part-time people, or, you know, something like that, if that's what we wanted to do. We're for the and even the development of this job description, it's focused on what Jen said would be the kids in quarantine and that off day of a hybrid like the high school happens to be in. We've got people in charge of our full online students at each level. So this person wouldn't, at this point anyway, be doing anything with those students.
So how many students do you think on an average this position would address per week, Casey? Do you have any idea? I'm just trying to figure out quarantining and
we have to remember too that we have that second grade teacher that's already has that online class, right?
We have an elementary teacher who's just doing the online
For K through 4, right?
Yes.
So that we really, this position would only be addressing then 5 through 12, correct?
Well, that person's, I talked to Mr. Rabbit about that. She's not doing anything with quarantine kids.
So what happens in the quarantine?
Teachers are doing it. Classroom teachers are the.
So how many people does she service then? How many do we have online?
Oh, in the elementary, I haven't seen the number for a while, but you know, we've probably got 30, 40 kids in there.
34 kids.
34. Yeah.
Started at 41.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize they were
I
doing
forget
it.
they're still there.
I thought that was echoing.
Yeah, 34. We have 34 online kids.
Okay.
There, and that is probably you know, we're probably well, when we started the year, we had more at the online in the elementary than at the upper grades. The middle school is probably in that ballpark too, a number of kids. They may be a little bit more than that now.
I think that was just the constant feedback that I got from parents also, was that they really were missing that contact person because
yeah,
you know, teachers were teaching, so they couldn't answer a phone call to see where the assignment was or something like that. I think it would just help with communication and fluidness between. But I don't know. You would know the best, Casey, what we need right now.
And the parents did mention at the last meeting, just, if there was someone from the school that could reach out to those students that were quarantined to see how things went, ask for ideas. I don't know if that would be part of this person's responsibilities.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of Tammy's. Yeah, Tammy.
Would it be okay if I just mentioned a few things? Because first of all, I really appreciate the fact that I believe it was on September 23rd that Jen and Karen came out and we discussed the need for a position like this. And I've done a lot of thinking about it since then. And although number wise, as far as quarantine students at the high school has drastically changed, I don't believe that it has affected our need for a position like this. And so I actually went through every bullet point on this job description, mostly focusing on what Jen mentioned earlier, and that's that liaison, that communication link between parents and our school. And I don't want to take anything away from our teachers, because our teachers have been doing a really good job of reaching out to parents, to students, but in a hybrid model, they're essentially serving two different groups of students. And so that can become a little bit overwhelming. One of the things that we are really moving forward with, and that is the recording of instruction. And there are certain research-based methods to do that. And I think it's really important with the purchase of those iPads that we make certain that we focus on that and do that right. I believe that, working with the teachers, like for example, Mr. Durkoff, who has done a lot of recording instruction, he has learned throughout this process that, it's more about getting that instruction out there and not spending so much time editing. And so coming up with a regular schedule for recording instruction, for pushing that instruction out, for making sure that that's communicated, and figuring out what the best way to communicate that to our families. We can surround them with all different sorts of emails and infinite campus messages, but if that's not the appropriate way to communicate, then we need to work and figure that out. I really do feel like we would utilize a position like this right now. And I don't want to take a whole bunch of the board meeting to specifically talk about that, but I would be more than happy to put my thoughts together and send that out to the board if you would like. One of the other ways that I believe that this position could be utilized is taking a look at our Edgenuity resources for our teachers that are teaching from the classroom in the hybrid, because we do have a 6 through 12 license for the curriculum that I'm talking about. And Mr. Rabbit also has Edgenuity for, I believe, kindergarten through 4th. Is that correct? Through 5th. I beg your pardon. But it has so much to offer, and to be able to have a dedicated person to manage the Edgenuity coursework for our high school students, in-house high school students, I think would be really a great use of the monies that we've spent on that licensure. So I have a lot of ideas on how this position could be used. I don't disagree with what Dr. Burlaw said as far as perhaps splitting it up to half-time positions, but I'm willing to put forth the time and the effort in order to make a position like this effectively used, if that makes sense. That communication piece is so important. We're serving so many different groups of students right now. I have 60 online full students, another 20 to 30 ROAR students, and then of course all of the students that we're serving hybrid. and the ones that are in quarantine or isolation or have extended absences for other reasons. So I just really appreciate the consideration of this position, and would be more than happy to go into further detail if the board would like in regard to how I believe this position could be used and be beneficial.
Tammy, we already have teachers on staff handling the online learning, correct?
We do.
Well, we could, so if this position would just work with kids that, the hybrid kids or the kids that are in quarantine, and fix all the communication breakdowns that we've had with parents, making sure that the assignments are online and that kind of stuff. My fear is this, Tammy. I don't want this position to become a position of someone running through the school, recording and uploading it. You know, this person really needs to be that checking in weekly with the parents or student, making sure the parents and student know where to reach assignments and they have the assignments, helping teachers learn how to use the recording. But I don't, you know, I don't have a problem personally okaying a position that is needed now, but I don't want it to turn into something that we don't have down here on this job description. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't want it to go away from the main goal, which is serving the parents and the students of hybrid and quarantine kids.
I agree with you on that, and that's exactly my vision too. I think the difficult part is the timeliness of communication. Let's face it, the teachers are in the classroom from 7:45 until the end of the day, and they are responding to students that are in their presence that need immediate assistance. And this position could provide that communication piece that in a more timely fashion than what the teacher is able to do right now. I'm not taking anything away from what our teachers are doing, because they're working extremely hard and they're doing very well. It's just sometimes very difficult to get things out in a timely manner. And I believe that this position wouldn't necessarily be the one doing the recording. They would be the one helping communicate when that recording is coming out, where to get that, if you have questions or need help with accessing the recording, those types of things. So I am in total agreement with you on that. I'm thinking about best practices too on what types of platforms work best for the different curricular areas, which is why this position prefers experience and an education license. And then that skill set of working with people is really important.
Do you think they
strong communication skills?
Do you think they need to have experience working in our district, Tammy?
Well, I certainly think that would be very beneficial, simply because I think our district has done a really nice job of focusing on the G Suite applications with the Google Classroom, and those different types of applications that we are all now very familiar with and work very well for our district. Now, that being said, I've been hiring positions for years now, and certain positions can be more difficult to hire than others. That said, yes, that would certainly be a plus because of the fact of the timing of the hire, coming into a school year that's already started and things that are already in place.
Thank you, Tammy.
A couple things I think we need to clarify. I know when the idea kind of came about, middle school, high school, but we need to clarify, this thing, moves around, and you know, right now we have 35 or kids or more in quarantine at the elementary, and not that many at K, at middle school, high school. So if that's a big piece of it, then we need to clarify what grade levels it is. And then secondly, you know, I think a key piece of it is, and the phone calls I took from concerned parents was just a common theme, which you referenced, I believe, in this discussion already, was that connection. My kids, you know, that's 14 days is that initial call. That's a long time, and there's just that feeling of, okay, who's that? Where's that connection? This person could really help with that. I think that's probably the key piece there.
Where would you house
I don't know. We'd have to. I don't know. I haven't thought about that at all. I'd have to look and figure out where we would have some space. But so I think there's definitely value there. And this would be, you know, maybe a good way to see if we can, to see if it helps, you know, without committing to multiple people,
Right.
and long term.
The one thing that I was thinking is, you know, when we're talking to them and kind of writing down performance, responsibilities, essential duties, what they were thinking, kind of did a disservice, because I didn't, now that we have 35 elementary, we can get Patrick's.
Yeah.
I mean, do we need to write a different one for the younger grades? Do we need to have, I mean, do we need to incorporate stuff that younger grade learning looks a lot different than the middle school and high school learning?
Well, perhaps, oh, am I still on? Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize. I saw the green and I didn't know if the X was through my microphone. I think that, you know, our main concern is that connection between the school and the student. And if you take a look at some of the essential duties under like 3, 4, and 5, those would be pertinent regardless of what grade level we would be serving, and dependent upon whether an elementary student would have instruction recorded. I would certainly think, you know, research shows that a student that hears their teacher's voice, it's really important for that homeschool connection, and that's why recorded videos from the classroom instructor are a little bit more engaging for a student than a canned video might be, if that makes sense.
So if we do it like 1 FTE, and can that be you hiring 2 part-time people if that's what you guys decide that that's the best?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. If you approve 1 FTE, we can figure out what makes the most sense. You know,
I think a lot of flexibility is going to be a key on this position, because it's just going to be so fluid and changing, whether you need 1 person or 2, or.
That's a good point.
I think it's interesting that the first thing we do is, well, we want you to have experience with dealing with kids home because of a pandemic. And it's like, that's not so realistic.
Any motion on this? More discussion?
Well, I'll move to approve a remote learning under 1 FTE. Do I need to say anything else? Have you have a question?
to serve K-12, are we talking?
Yeah, just for K-12. I would second that.
Cindy?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Annika?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll get to work.
Okay, that's great. We kind of already talked about the assistant, we did the assistant director already, so moving on to physical education waiver.
Well, that one, we're gonna do that in a different month.
Okay.
We're not doing that one today because I couldn't find the application, but
Oh.
we'll need to do one. We have one in place for this year, a PE waiver. But here in the next month or so, we'll do one for next year.
Okay.
That's the one. That's the one that we went through. We've
Yeah,
moved
I
things
got
around
you.
a
I
little
got
bit.
you. Okay, so I wonder. Alrighty. So we're moving to the sharing agreement with the Arweva
Yeah.
School District.
So we had last year we had an agreement with Arweva for speech. It's for their co-curricular activity, and it sounds like there may be a couple kids interested again this year.
And then voluntary retirement plan.
Well, we need to approve that agreement with Arweva if you're okay with it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll move that we approve the sharing agreement for
Sorry.
many schools for speech.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Dwayne,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Annika,
Yes.
Cindy.
Yes.
All right. Voluntary retirement plan. We're gonna go to that one.
Yeah. So last year we approved a voluntary retirement plan for the 1920 and the 2021 school year. And so we started our conversations about this last year in October. If you look at the policy, it does kind of talk about the timelines for both years. It does say submission of the written application to participate in the plan is turned in by 4 o'clock on January 8th, 2021. So I'm not recommending any changes or anything like that to it. It's more of a, we needed to come back to it to be able to get the ball rolling, just so everybody knows that that's in place, I guess.
Didn't we say that we were gonna limit it to 6 last year and then 6 this year? Do I remember that correctly, John?
Yeah, I was just
Was
looking.
it 6 or was it? It was limited.
But we did take more than 6 last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
If we so choose and desire.
Right.
Usually there was initially a number, which was 6.
Something is niggling in my head and I don't know where to look. That's amazing. But when we went over the 6 limit, we were going to take that many away for this coming year. That we weren't going to do 6 for the 21-22 school year. That we were still going to go back to 12 over 2 years, but I cannot remember. Would that have been in November's meeting, December's meeting?
Duration, page 1.
That's where it talks about 6.
Page 1?
Page 1, yep.
Yeah,
Under
page
plan
1.
duration, the second paragraph says the board will limit the number of applicants approved to 6 employee applicants for each year of the plan.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Then, of course, the board has the ability to reserve the right to approve more than 6 submitted for each year of the plan. So it would be, that would be 6.
Right. I'm just, like I said, there's something in the back of my head saying we made a comment that we would take, I don't know how many we took last year, but that would be that many less coming year. That's just ringing in my head. I don't know why we would have done that.
That's not the way this
I think we
reads.
talked about it depending on how the fund was doing. Gary, how many did we have last year?
You know, I don't remember.
I think it was 8, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So what are we at in the?
Your balance?
Yeah.
Your balance actually went up.
Yeah.
So how many could you get us together for next board meeting?
Sure.
Or how many if we took
Yep.
six, where we're gonna
Six is what
be,
it says.
Yep.
with that.
Yep.
Yeah, so we could bring that, we could take a closer look at the financial side of it next month, and then from there, then after that discussion, then we would send it out to staff possibly. 'Cause-
Keep in mind, the way it reads, it's, I mean, it says we will limit the number approved to 6. It doesn't say you have to approve 6. We limit the number to 6. You approve 5,
Yeah.
you approve 4.
Yep.
Depending on the fund. So maybe you could give us a breakdown, like if we took 4, 5, 6, where our
Sure.
management fund.
Because putting that out in November after the November board meeting still gives you plenty of time to have applications in January, so. Yep, we'll do that.
That's good. Request for modified allowable growth for limited English proficient excess cost. Sounds like something Casey's going to.
Well, so each year you can make a request for modified allowable growth for if you're, I think it's if your ELL students increased, because you have to pay for them in this year. So you can ask for you can ask for that spending authority is basically what it is. And I think I looked today, isn't it? It's a little over 11,000.
Yeah. We overspend for ELL what they give us for funds. We keep track of that and it's reported on the CAR. Then what they do is they look at what you overspent, and then a percentage of that we can apply for additional level.
Okay.
So we put in an application for whatever our maximum was. It was, like Casey said, 11,000 something.
Yeah.
And so we said that we would send them our board minutes when it was approved. That board meeting, so.
It's spending authority, so it doesn't affect your tax rate or anything else. It's just.
Need a motion to be done. I'll move that we request modified allowable growth for limited English proficient kids, students, excess costs.
I second.
Dwayne,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Annika,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Jennifer.
Yes.
Okay, moving on. Let Gary write business office report. This is about the lighting, possible lighting fixtures.
Casey.
Oh, Casey, you're gonna talk about that. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is.
Yeah, so we have some lighting at Fairview. I think it's the lunchroom and some different places. Yeah, where we got a quote to replace the current lighting with LED lights.
Lobby.
Yeah.
Commons area.
We did the middle school gym last year. And yeah, you never know how much. This would be a good project to get done before the end of the year, because you don't know about the rebates and if they'll continue or not. So we have 3 quotes. The first, we have one from DR Electric for $29,049. And then PQL lighting. It says like
It was like 30, it was 45,000,
We'll have
45,900.
the front page to have somebody wrote in what the actual did.
Yeah, it was like 45,000 or something like that.
there was quite a bit of difference
Mhm.
between them.
This one is saying, building and the gym. Bidding on the same thing?
Well, they're supposed to be. He had them come.
Yeah. it's
Yeah,
much
he
different.
he told me they were lot different.
Where did I find that number? I found
Who
it-
did the last
Here.
wiring? Do you know off the top of your head?
That's a lot of
I,
it.
I would say it was probably either Lorman or
Yeah. I think it might be-
DNR. I think we've used both of those companies.
Here it is.
I'm a big
Here's
one for using in place people, not, companies that were out.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah,
the
Jeff,
grand
I
total
think Jeff did all of these.
was 45,600,
Okay.
and then you have
And
these
the staff did.
rebates,
Yeah.
9,000, so it ended up being 36,600.
Yeah, and then what's the DR and what?
The
So.
DR was 49,000.
Is that the net?
Yeah.
Well, but then you get the 9,000 rebate, so
Yeah.
it was 19,000. After the
Yeah.
rebate was
Now, did Jeff say
19,149.
which one he recommended?
I think he's recommending the DR electric.
The DR?
It's,
Okay.
so I said DR's was 29,049, but then the rebates of $9,900
Right.
takes it to 19,149.
Right.
I can speak to working with TR in the past at church, and they just they replaced all of our bulbs and on time and great cost, and yeah, so I'm just speaking up for them.
And then Lorman's actually lower at 17,840. So,
So Jeff was recommending DNR.
I believe so. I don't, that Lorman was the last one we got, the one from Lorman. I don't know, did he
Pretty vague.
ever say anything?
I
to you?
didn't talk to him about
Yeah.
it, so I'm kind of lost here.
It is such a vague, what is
Yeah.
he doing? I'm sure he's a perfectly good electrician, but
I actually called Gary today because on the DR, if you look at the numbers there, the quantity, what that's talking about is, that's the type of light, it's not the quantity of lights. The 2259 and that 216, those are the Keystone 9 voltage lamps, that's a description of them, it's not a number. So I was confused by this, how do you get to $29,000? I think the numbers make sense. So it's like the type of lights that are being installed here. I don't know what the numbers are on.
You want to text Jeff?
Yeah, I'm right now.
Maybe, yeah, maybe he told him how many lamps we needed or something, who knows?
I'll see if they'll call and they'll answer.
I assumed that that one and the Lorman were basically essentially the same.
Let's see if
The
he'll
other one
answer.
is just way out of bounds, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, there's actually.
There was a lot of discussion about what you'd save in electricity. You put a lot of information about that. And-
Jeff,
Yeah.
hey, can I put you on speaker? Can you, I know you may not have anything in front of you, but we're talking about the lighting quotes. Can you, we have the quote from DR, Lorman, and PQ Lighting, PQL. And Lorman's the lowest if you take the rebates out. And I was thinking, I recall you recommending DRs, but I didn't know if I had that right. No, okay. That's your recommendation. Okay, I'm gonna put you on speaker here. Okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So can you just repeat what you said there?
Out of the three bids, Lorman Electric was low bid. That would have been my recommendation to go with the low bid of Lorman Electric.
Okay.
It's the same product, Jeff, that we're getting, it's the same. The specs are the same.
Did they bid on the same thing? The specs are the same,
Yes,
the
everything's
product's the same?
Yes, all same number of lamps, same watt. Well, Lorman actually has included to replace the sockets in the fixtures since we're putting them in the existing fixtures. and the other 2 contractors did not include that, but that was not specified to do that. But the vendor where they were getting the lamps made the recommendation that they should do that. So that was just an extra thing included in their bid. So
Okay. Can you just hang on to the phone here for a little bit, because we got the Carroll Control coming up next, just in case there's a question.
Yep.
Okay.
The bid for Norman Electric for a total of $27,740 before the rebate.
Second.
Karen,
Yes.
Annika,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Dwayne.
Yes.
Moving forward, looking for adding a controller to the boiler at AES.
For Adams Elementary. Jeff, can you just talk about the need for that?
what we're looking to do is add, it's a automated controls for the boilers that what it does is it blows down the boiler steam, and right now when we do it manually it wastes a lot of water because you just manually open the valve and it lets the water drain out of the boilers, and you're just kind of guessing when to close that valve, and you got to maintain it around 5,000 parts. And like when you're manually draining it down, sometimes you'll get it clear down to like 2,000 parts. So you've wasted a lot of water, where the automatic controls will actually keep that within like 100 parts. So it's big savings on your water usage.
Okay. Well, Jeff, will it help balance out the temperatures fluctuating so much?
It doesn't necessarily change the fluctuating temperatures, but it maintains the chemical balance of the water, of the steam and the water in the boilers, which also is an advantage for the life of the boilers.
And we just have that one bid from them.
Yeah, they do all of our control.
They do
work.
our chemical treatment for our boiler systems in all
Yeah.
of our buildings. So I did only get the one bid. I'm not sure who else I would even be able to get off the top of my head.
I'll move to approve the boiler bid to Carroll Control Systems for $9,955.
Second.
Annika,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Dwayne,
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
And can you hang on for just another minute or two on
Yeah.
the Haley thing, just in case?
You want to do that? We want
Yeah.
to jump over the farm lease?
Sure.
Do that one. Yes,
Yeah,
do that
we're-
one next.
Then I'll let you go, I promise.
Yeah. The Haley
That's fine.
equipment bid, which was,
It's a kind of a salmon color and blue. The last 2 pages in your packet. Jeff, can you just kind of talk about why why this request is in front of the board? What's the need?
Okay. We've actually been looking at one of the UTV for probably close to 5 years. And this actual model that we have the quote on is one that we had really looked at strongly. It's street legal, so we can drive it from building to building during snow removal. This one happened to come up as a used piece of equipment that had the broom attachment, which we're looking to get for cleaning parking lots, can also be used for lighter snow removal. It also has a bucket and forks, so we can move pallets, which we currently don't have any way to do that. But the main thing was for snow removal with the cab and the heat. Being able to do sidewalks with a snow blower, which we don't really have anything that can do wide sidewalks as quick as what this which should be able to do. When this came up through Haley's, it was low. It has low hours. You know, I looked at the unit and it's really in good condition, even though it's a used unit. The snowblower would be a brand new unit that they did not have. They'll have to order that. So I guess what else? Any questions?
Does it have a broom with it? I thought you said it had a. Or was
Yeah. It has a rotary broom.
Yeah, and
that's for cleaning parking lots, like especially after winter's over with all the sand that we put down. The brooms, we've been wanting to have something to be able to clean parking lots. Plus, like I say, with the broom, you can do lighter snows too, quicker.
Jeff,
And
I have 3 questions for you. This is Karen.
Yes.
I have 3 questions. Is it still available? Since it's been sitting out there, do you know that it's still available or they're holding it? Possibly?
Yes.
Okay.
The sales rep said that he would put a hold on it,
Okay.
but I told him there was no guarantees that the board would approve it.
Okay.
But it is still available
Okay.
till tomorrow.
Till tomorrow. Oh, till tomorrow. Okay. My second question was, is this replacing equipment or is this something brand new that we?
This is a new piece of equipment that we have not had in the past.
Okay.
But we're looking at it to kind of not replace the tractor, but to do snow removal quicker than what the tractor is.
Okay.
And
is there a warranty since it's used? Is there a warranty with this?
Yes.
I don't have it in front of me. I can't recall what there was.
12 months.
A warranty.
Oh, okay, 12 months. Sorry. Thank you.
I didn't. I thought there was, but I didn't have it right in front of me.
Okay. Thank you.
12 month or 1,000 hours.
Yeah.
Jeff,
Yes.
I thought we contracted our snow removal outside.
We do contract some, but we do a lot of it ourselves. Anything under 2 inches, we try to take care of all of our 2 inches or less, we try to take care of on our own. And we just have, like I say, with the tractor, sometimes it's not very fast moving. This is a lot quicker getting from building to building. And with the snow blower, I think we can move more snow with it than the tractor. Basically with the tractor, we just have a back blade that we can drag snow with, where this will actually blow it and get it moved further away.
Any questions?
So, the motion to include the 5,000 for the snow blower, then 2. So a total of 19.
Yep.
I'll move to approve the purchase of the 3650 UTV. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
For a total of 19,500.
Second. Cindy?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Monica?
Yes.
Call them early in the morning.
Yeah. You can call them in the morning, Jeff.
I was thinking such a good deal. It might not.
Thank you.
While he was
All right,
talking, I was
thanks.
looking at prices. This is a very good price.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just thinking if it's that good of a deal, it's probably gone. That's why I got that question.
Yeah, but I'm thinking it might have been a good deal for the school district.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Alrighty. Garbage bids is coming up here. And
Do you want to do farm
Farm
lease?
oh,
lease.
sorry.
Yeah, I better-
Sorry.
I jumped over things.
No problem.
So yes, let's go back to that farm lease thing.
Appreciate you wanting to get through the.
Yes, I'm trying to push this through. Trying to get.
The gold, yellow gold, this is a new plot. And you can see it's between us and Todd Reuter, lives in Ankeny, the FFA and him. And it's, the lease is 414. Well, that's the ag building, I think, but let's see, we looked at this, where is the premise, this spot? Oh, yeah, it's on the very back. It's, Mohawk Avenue and Radiant Road, Block 1 of the Northwest Addition to the city of Carroll. So, and it's for $1 a year for the year.
Kind of looking at this term, and it says term of 1 year to commence September 20th, and then it says to end February 2022. I was kind of, I don't know, looking at the math on that one, thinking, wait a minute, is a typo? Yeah.
We've done this every year.
Okay.
This is a new
Yeah.
plot, I think.
Yeah.
So this is
So-
in addition to what we have?
No, one stopped renting it to us, right?
Yeah, we had one fewer. They used to have three Kemper, the city, and then the Fricky, I think, and that one ended. So we just had Kemper and the city of Carroll, and this one would be back to 3.
So you think that's just a typo then, Dwayne?
I guess
But February,
I'm guessing, yeah, it's spelled out a term of 1 year. I don't know, we need to get clarification. I guess we could put it in the motion to approve it for 1 year.
Yeah, I'm thinking we probably had this since September 20th. I think that's why I put that date on it.
Okay.
Can we make a motion to accept this
Well, actually,
for
I'm sorry.
upon clarification? I mean, that, yes, bearing qualification, clarification
correction
on the 2022.
You can give permission to Karen to sign it once we get the dates, the dates correct,
Yeah.
the
And
year
you guys
period
would clean
defined.
up the language.
Sure. Well, I'm wondering in the past, Gary, did we have that, or the other ones, ending in February 28th? Because this is actually, if you think about it, that's.
Yeah, all the way.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, we should get clarification on it, I guess.
And September 20th, could they already be working in the field? Is that why they did September
Well, I don't
20th?
know.
Traditionally, March is the magic.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
February 28th, March 1st, we're moving around on land, so.
Yeah.
It's just an
That's an
odd,
number.
odd combination. I was looking at it.
Yeah.
It seems so odd. Okay. You
Maybe
want to
that's-
table it? You want to table it till we?
We could do that too.
Or just give you, just,
We could give
Yeah.
approval to.
Okay. Once it's corrected.
Pending clarification.
Okay.
Okay.
Somebody's
Thanks, Jen.
somebody's gonna make that.
Okay, I make a motion that we accept the lease, holding signature until the date is clarified for the farm.
second.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Annika?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Now we're gonna go to garbage.
Yeah. Well, I know you've been waiting for
Yes,
this all night. Finally got there. This is, blame this on the COVID. I forgot to get bids. We only do bids on garbage every 3 years.
Okay.
And Mr. Sapp called me up and reminded me I forgot to do it. So I said, well, we will do it. You'll notice that Carroll Refuge, which is, they have the bid now. What they did is basically turned in the same bid they had before, which is fine. However, bids are public record. So I know Mr. Sapp knew what their bid was. And so he is cheaper.
He is cheaper.
So it's always a pain when we change companies. Both of them are very good companies. It's just we have to sort out now all the bins, make sure who owns what bin, and make sure we got bins where they belong and all that. But 3 years has been a huge help, because then it's a 3-year process. But yeah, either one of them is great, but in this case, I think there's no reason not to take the low bid. That's what I'm recommending.
Discussion? Question?
I'll move we approve the Raised Refuge bid for garbage collection, for a 2-year contract.
Second.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Annika?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Okay. Financial reports.
Yeah, I don't have any financial reports for you tonight. I thought I was gonna have the CARES one. We had a lot of activity this month, and so a lot of those were on the bill list tonight, and I didn't have time to match up. I need to go through and look them all up and get the descriptions of what we were purchasing. So I will have that for you next year, or next month. But for example, we bought 300 Chromebooks. So those will show up on this next list. There's several other things that we purchased. So as far as CARES, we're closing in if we leave the expenditures the way they're at. We also have that other group of money, GEARS, I think it's called, GEERS. That can be used for technology. So I think we will have a discussion on whether some of those items could be moved towards the GEARS funds and what we're going to use the GEARS funds for. So hopefully at the next meeting, we'll have a more definitive list with all the descriptions and so forth. And I think it'll be informative as far as all the things that our funds have gone for, to help with the pandemic. On the other financials, I'm working on the line item budget, and I'm hoping to have that done by the next meeting too. So that will be a big help. We get a line item budget completed. So we're working on then getting ready for the audit. It's actually more work this year because they're doing it virtual. So I've never had one that way.
Oh, no.
So
Wow.
we have to copy all the records and submit it to them. And then, wow. So that has been a lot of work. And I think in our district, they probably could have done it. We put them in this room, nobody else is in here. But I can imagine that other schools probably don't have room for them. And so they just have to sit wherever, and it's probably very crowded. So they just made the decision to just do them all virtually. So technically our audit will be that, I think it's November 2nd or something, but they want all the paperwork in by the end of the month. So we're about there.
So for the new board members, you'll probably get an email from them. Okay.
Yes.
Some questions that you'll have you answer. Okay.
Because they want your unvarnished opinion as to, are there things going on that shouldn't be? So, and don't ask me the question. They want you to answer it by yourself.
Okay, well, that makes sense. You know what, they're gonna have a hard time answering what we got dinged on from our previous audit, because that's one of the questions is, what did you do to address, but they didn't have the audit.
Yeah. I don't know how this is all going to work. We'll see.
Okay, it's good to know that it's coming.
I'll defer to Jen.
Go ask Jen.
Yeah, she knew, yeah, or Dwayne. Yes, they were here last time. So
What I could do, we only had one thing last year.
I don't remember.
I'll look that up and I'll shoot an email out to you so that you know what to talk about.
When will we get the results?
Jen, I was thinking on that.
In the
when you asked
spring.
About what was done. I was kind of follow the I don't know, stated recommendations in the audit or something like that. Because there is a response in the audit.
Yeah, that's what I always
It's
pull the
true.
audit book out and just look at it and then
Yeah.
type that in.
Yeah, just follow the stated recommendations in the audit response. in the audit book.
Sounds good.
I can't even remember what it was now. I think it was pretty minor. So that's all I had.
Thanks, Gary. Okay, announcements, information, conventions.
Yeah.
I'm so sad that we don't get to
I
travel.
know it is virtual. The delegate assembly is virtual, and the annual convention. So if you want us to register you, just let Mary know or me, and we'll get you registered. Yeah, look at their agenda and see what you think, and just let us know. We'll get you registered.
I did get registered for the delegate assembly, so.
Okay.
Suggestions for the moving through the year, November 16th. Yeah.
One thing that we should have had on there is actually November will be our organizational meeting. We'll do officer elections because in a normal, a year from November will be a school board election year. So we'll have election results, and then so now all that's in November. It used to be in September. Now it's November. So.
I'd like to add a suggestion. Regarding the mask requirement, I think that in view of the change of the student quarantine rules from the governor, the current high active case count, the issues with healthcare and the overloading of the hospital and healthcare staff, and public input, I think we owe it to our constituencies to at least discuss requiring masks in a public forum and taking action. I don't know that it should wait until the November board meeting, so I don't know if is there a way we can take action prior to that?
Well, I mean, obviously the board has the option of holding special meetings if you want to have a special meeting. Since the board took action on our return to learn plan, any changes to it, we would need to go back to the board for action.
I do feel we need to have another discussion on it. I don't know, it's such a hard deal. I do follow what I see out there. I guess in some of the recommendations, I still see conflicting recommendations from both the experts, doctors, on there, both sides of the camp. But with the quarantining change, it does kind of keep a little stronger play on revisiting that because they want to keep kids in school and not being quarantined. And I don't know if it won't have that big of an impact. We don't have big numbers of kids that, and it frustrates me that the quarantine numbers we have, it appears like they're all due to school and a lot of them are not due to school. So that skews the whole mask issue. I think our staff has done a great job of cleaning, obviously, because we're not having a huge explosion of positive cases and infections within the district and that. But I don't know if you guys saw the email. I was tough. There's 4 pages of signatures of staff there. So I was trying to get a rough number. It's over half our staff that are requesting and asking again. And they were probably the same one. They were there before. I don't know that many minds have been changed and swayed. So I guess, I'm very, very open to a discussion on it again. I know it's got different opinions in the board, but again, I want these kids in school. I don't like the thought of a kid going into quarantine because, again, and I'm not gonna say, I'll back up and say, I don't think that you made the wrong decision with the conditions we had at the time. If we did change it, you know, I think it's being changed because conditions have changed, and particularly with the quarantine.
That's, I would say the same thing. That's why
Because I feel it's worked really well. I feel
revisit it because things have changed. We're different than we were a few months ago.
It's an interesting thing. I always look to Plymouth County because they're the same breed of cat. Mrs. Lamar's, they have the same number of students in the county, and they're all mandated, and they're number 2 county in the state. So I'm not
Number
sure
2 in what?
in having COVID cases in the state. Yeah. There's 97 counties behind it. We're 3 behind. So, but here you have all the schools are mandated issue, and some of the schools are mandated in our county, and
well, that just speaks to a lot of the spread is not happening in the school.
Right,
Right.
And it isn't. And so
I think that's what we're seeing now, because if you look at our numbers, they're a lot lower than, they've been lower and going lower than they were when we made that decision even.
Right.
So I think that there needs to be, that we need to look at it, you know, as, are we doing our part as a school district? We can't control.
Right.
The
I
downside,
agree with that. I agree with that.
We can control our
We can't
school
control what's going
and
outside, but
what's happening in our school at that time. And it is fluid. It might change, and we might, Casey might need us to address it next week if we get high numbers. But right now, I don't think it should be a urgency when we have 2 kids positive and only 15 quarantine. And I know that from Kemper's last one, they had 6 positive and over 15 quarantine, their update. So I don't think that it's to the point that it's an urgency right now, that we just need to continue to watch it and see what happens with, hopefully that since our community is so high that it'll continue to drop and get back down into the single digits like we were for a couple days.
I think there's a difference between the numbers within the school system and the numbers within the community. When you talk about the community, are we talking about Rita or Coon Rapids or Manning? I mean, you can't nail down where this community spread is really going, and is it in the city? We're not sure. It's hard to tell. But we want everyone to be safe, but there's a lot of fear, and that's what I noticed mainly. It's the fear, and I watched a really good video the other day of different doctors who have different opinions, and one of the things, he was a child psychiatrist, and he was talking about the fear in the children, and that that the parents don't even listen to him when he talks about numbers and the reality of things because they're so scared. And so it's very hard to talk non-emotionally and objectively to anybody right now. So I think that's a huge part of a lot of this. It's the fear, and rightly so. People are afraid. But when you look at the numbers within the school, like you said, they've been going down. Masks, mandated or required doesn't necessarily mean or equate always to better protection in the school system. So I kind of want to be objective about it versus emotional and subjective about it and work out of fear. I don't want to work out of fear. I want to work out of objectives and facts. So
and I think that's one of my main things about mandates, is that a mandate is just a 2-syllable word for law, and enforcing it, people go, oh, it'll be easy to enforce. No, it won't. No. It won't be easy to enforce, and it opens up a whole host of issues, because when people act out of fear, they're acting irrationally. And a mandate, like I said, who's going to enforce it? Are we going to turn a child's family over to protective services because they're not making their child wear a mask to school? Are we going to require our school staff to stay out of places where there's a lot of people? Sorry, you don't get to have a wedding for your child this year. Sorry, you have to stay home after school. I mean, where does that reach go? And that's why I've been so careful about mandating and looking at the facts, doesn't support that mandate is the end all be all. Keeping kids in school, however, is my goal also.
Yeah.
So I really wonder if it isn't something that needs to be addressed legislatively, that the quarantine filter is stupid. I mean, it is not helpful, and it is not addressing the core issues underneath. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
I think the one thing that you have, a piece of the pie, so to speak, is the fact that we've had kids in quarantine though, and that has probably had something to do with the fact that we haven't had. It's a pain, and none of us like it.
Right.
I don't, but I mean, it has, even though we haven't seen a lot of those kids in quarantine be positive, it's hard to say that it hasn't kept our numbers down.
I think what's really kept our numbers down is hybrid at the high school because of the age of the kids. That those are kids are usually
They're
transmitting
generally
it
more
more.
interactive.
Right.
Outside the social realm.
Right. And so that's why, going into November with our high county positivity rate, I would hope that if it stays that high, we would continue in hybrid so that we don't have that issue, because keeping high school kids separate is a lot different than keeping elementary kids separate.
But this is not just a Iowa issue. I mean,
It's all
I've had some vacation with some family in South Dakota, and my little small town there is having a rash of all of a sudden now of COVID. North Dakota is, and I mean, it's the rural areas for whatever reason seem to really be having this uptick.
Well, and you have a state like Wisconsin that requires masks throughout the state, and they're just through the roof.
Yeah.
So I think,
It's not one thing. Masks are not the answer to totally protect people.
That's why I
It's
like
one
when
of our
Annika said that.
mitigation strategies.
Yeah.
One of those 3 mitigation strategies that I think if we can utilize that as another strategy, because it sounds like they're doing a great job, especially at the middle school, of trying to keep that physical social distancing and the hygiene on the buses and the schools, the classrooms. It sounds like they're doing a good job of that. This I think is that third layer that if it can help keep some of those kids from having to go into quarantine and help lessen the spread, then I think it's something to consider.
The one thing that gets me is you'll see these kids and they come home from school and then they all get together, like our neighbors. You see 10 kids playing in their yard after they walked home from school with a mask.
Yeah.
And it's,
or go to a football game and watch every boy drink out of the same jug.
Yeah.
And no masks.
Yeah, and it's, or, at a social gathering and see these people that want mandated masks, and I didn't see one mask on any of them.
Right.
In close proximity. So I think it's,
So can we agree maybe if things do change numbers wise down the road, we'd be willing to have this discussion down the road?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Absolutely. If we have why wouldn't we address it if there was an uptick? But right now, there's not in our school.
Are you talking about just an uptick in the school?
Yeah, like if we
within the school district.
Yeah.
And so, just so I know, I try to make sure every once in a while anyway that I tell you what our numbers are, just in case you're not looking at that sheet. But so just continue to keep an eye. If we see an uptick, positive cases and or the quarantine number, that's what I have seen some schools having to do some different things just because of staff. And I think you all need to be aware that there could come a point in time where we just can't staff classrooms because of teachers in testing positive or, those kind of things, because we just don't have subs. So that's something to just keep in the back of your mind. So far, so good. We've gotten a little creative, but we've been able to manage so far. But if we would start to see it more in our staff, that's just something to keep in mind. So far, we've been pretty good there too, but
Oh, yeah, it's the big picture.
Yeah.
We need to be looking at this big
And
picture.
it's so interesting how we're going through a wave now, and then communities that got hit early on, their numbers are stable, but now they're starting to uptick again, and that's worldwide. So it's just a case of waves of this, and
yeah, I agree with you. I think this year is just gonna be
yeah.
like this.
It's going to be like that dragon roller coaster at Adventureland, and I don't do roller coasters well. It's just.
Okay.
So we'll kind of, if things get going the wrong direction, we may have to look at a special meeting. Otherwise, we'll see where we're at before the November meeting and kind of go from there. Is that what I'm hearing?
And I also, because you mentioned the November hybrid plan, are we as a board to recommend it, or are they on there? Is Tammy and that's all?
That's
Because
their
I'm really happy that they do that. So, but I
Yeah,
didn't know.
well, yeah, I mean, things would have to look a lot different in 2 weeks or whatever before we would change that. It's just,
It's really was interesting just getting that email from a student, just talking about how they're prepared in the next step. It was just kind of an eye-opener. I actually responded to him. Just thanked him for reaching out to the board. If you just don't get that, it's good to hear that.
It was wonderful to hear from him. I think he expressed himself very well.
Yeah, he did. He really did.
It was
Just
impressive.
saying, hey, but he's embracing it. I actually complimented him on his leadership, because he is embracing that, and I'm sure he's talking with other students and saying, well, I'm feeling better prepared. I hope he's doing that.
Well, I think that hybrid, from having 2 high school kids in it right
I
now,
think so.
you can see the teachers get better data at it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because they're just
I'm sure they're
practicing
getting
it out.
They're not as
You know,
prepared
just
as
got
others. I mean,
thrown into their laps
Right.
and they're running with it.
And some kids do better in that situation, learning in that situation, some kids don't.
Which is why I asked Tammy, what do you do
Yeah.
with the kids that are like drowning in this? So I'm glad you did
That's a
that.
good idea. I do feel it's a good fit there, but that's probably the only building I go to. It's a good, strong fit.
Agreed.
Yeah, just.
Yeah, there's an
high school,
age of
even
kids.
below that.
Yeah, it's the age
just-
of the kids.
Boy, and just like I emailed Patrick about the drop in the scores, and I realized it's an effect of losing voluntarily, and they just dropped off, and that was a big gap to pick up, and expected it, and
There's always gaps after summertime.
oh, there is,
But for them
it's-
to see that big a gap, that's what concerned me last month, when you saw the NWVA results. And you're
you
like,
take
wow.
you take Fairview out of the one-on-one instruction, and they're not, you're not gonna get the gap back.
Right.
That's very concerning.
I think one of the teachers in speaking to us today had mentioned something about opening up the doors for volunteers to come back and help give the readings. I'm wondering if that, more than anything, needs to be changed in our policies, because that is so vital for those kids to keep reading to people. And we would have to require temperatures and everything.
COVID checks.
Well, I actually responded to Patrick on that, saying, is it possible to look at Zoom, or they do it over Zoom?
There you go.
Kids could read over Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could.
Is it
Over
possible
volunteers.
to do a one-on-one where they're, go into an isolated area where it is a one-on-one, and
That's a great idea.
they could do a mask, each could wear a mask there in that situation. So, I mean, it's pretty hard if parents somebody has to be involved to help get them hooked up, but kind of wish we had some of those volunteers back in there, but then they may not want to come into the school.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, when you're talking about the grandparents, I just don't think that we probably should go down that road right now. It's just not.
We don't need to cover any of these here. Okay. Seeing the time this evening, I was thinking that we could, talking with Casey, that maybe we could move the closed session to next meeting in November. We would just table it for this evening and move it to November, unless there was some concern about that.
I guess if you had a dissertation prepared for tonight, that would be cool, but otherwise, yeah.
I don't have a dissertation prepared, so you're not gonna,
Is that okay?
it's fine, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, you know,
Yeah.
get to this time in the evening, it's
I'm not
usually,
in favor of that.
yeah.
First I'm hearing, oh,
Yeah.
How funny.
He wants to put him on the spot.
Unsolicited.
Yes. So is there a motion for adjournment?
I'll move to adjourn. I'll second it.
All aye. Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good.
Good.
How long did they doing?
Yes.
I invited your pastor to be one of the teachers too. I was asked to invite someone else. I was going to actually invite Father Richter, but they've all been exposed to COVID, so they're quarantined.
I'm sure you would.
Yeah, he said he'd be glad to come, so.
Good. And actually, Karen, I won't need to come. I forgot about Cindy coming. We can't have a quorum.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I forgot, because I'm coming as a different hat. I'm wearing a different
You're
hat.
still school board.
One of those big
Yeah, it's hard to take that hat
I
off.
won't come because of that.
Oh.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
We got plenty of representation there.
Yeah,
Good
for that.
representation, I might add.
It's gonna be an interesting meeting.
Yeah. Well, I'll make sure we pass on everything. 'Cause that letter, I mean, I sent, no, I didn't send you the letter. Again, that letter, I'll make sure. It'll be interesting to see just how it goes. Thanks, Casey. Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow at that meeting.
Okay.
Did I give you that letter from Eric?
Yeah,
I sent it to you. I never did.
That's just,
I told you about it. I
Yeah.
can't tell you.
yeah, you told me,
Yeah.
told me about
Well, Carolyn kind of,
He's
kind of proofread it and added a little bit to it. Not much, just a couple at the end. But I can send you the letter that Eric